Hello there. Welcome, everyone. My name is Saskia Christian. I am your event host, organizer, and founder of BreakThru. It's such an honor to actually have you here with us, dialed in for the second day of BreakThru's first annual Resilience Summit 2023 EQ for BreakThru. We had such an amazing time yesterday with awesome speakers, and we have even much better time today with a great lineup of subject matter experts to delve into everything EQ application that you need for your success. So again, thank you so much for joining, and we wish you a wonderful summit day. So I would like you to get ready for great outpouring of invaluable wisdom for your business and personal life elevation. And in doing that, I now encourage you to do a reset with me, a short cyclic breathing exercise for emotional self-regulation before we hear from our first speaker. So we settle first, I'll review it, into natural, comfortable position. We take a slow, deep breath, long inhale through the nose, at the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, followed by a short, sharp inhale, then hold for 2, 3, 4 counts, followed by slow, deep breath out through your mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Allow your shoulders to relax while you breathe naturally. And so we'll do that about 3 times to get in a receptive mode for this goodness that we have. So if you can go with me, so get comfortable, take a slow, deep breath, long inhale. Again. One last time. Awesome. So I hope that gets everybody more in tune for the day. So I encourage you to be aware of how you feel in your body. What do you notice? Do you feel your feet planted on the floor? Do you feel clothing on your skin? Pay close attention to all the physical sensations from the top of your head to your toes. Focus on your thoughts and feelings right here and right now, and be present in a moment for these amazing sessions that we have today. Thank you so much. I will first like to invite our first speaker of the day, and it'll be none other than Nita Shitikatel, and she'll be covering how emotional intelligence trumps intelligence quotient in performance and success. Nita, welcome to the stage. So glad you're here to present today.
Thank you, Saskia. I'm very happy and excited to be here on the summit with you, able to do this and having this opportunity. And I thank everybody who's present right now to attend this summit with all of us. Thank you so much. So a little bit about me. I started my career as a bedside RN. I was working in the NICU for several years. And then, as informatics was a very interesting topic at that time, went on to do my master's in informatics and then moved on to the IT side of it in the corporate world. So that's what I've been a corporate leader for some time now. So along this time, I was also helping children and working alongside them in my local temple. So then that interested me to open up my own learning center, which is to help with the children, also including some children with special needs and things like that. So that was really fulfilling for me. So as I continued on my journey with all of this, also I quickly realized that I have become kind of that leader in different areas. I needed to build up my leadership career path too. So, and then I joined John Maxwell's certification program for leadership. So that has been my ongoing journey so far. So this is a very important topic about emotional intelligence, EQ, and how it's going to be trumping IQ, right? So there was a certain research that was done once, and the survey, it was done amongst it was a 360-degree feedback survey amongst engineers, just to see that how EQ would be affecting, how it was deciding their success in their careers, right? So then when all of this 360-degree feedback came back, there was no correlation between IQ. In general, engineers are usually about 115 or above for their IQ, and there was no correlation in this 360-degree feedback. However, emotional intelligence, EQ, had a very high correlation. So what does that tell about us, about this whole difference, right? That definitely EQ trumps IQ in many of the areas. And even in practical experience, right? A lot of the things, even in the day-to-day world, if we really observe about the people around us and everything, it's just very obvious. So a little bit, the introduction of the topic, I already said it's about how EQ trumps IQ in performance and success. Now, just a little bit of review. Emotional intelligence, right? It really refers to the ability to recognize and understand, manage, and use emotions effectively in oneself and also in others. See, that's the key factor, able to understand, manage emotions, not just in me, but also in others. And then, so this plays a crucial role. EQ plays a crucial role in driving performance, achieving success, and various aspects of life, be it personal, be it relationship, work, leadership roles. As I said, in multiple areas, it really plays a major role. And EQ is also very important. Like, you can understand that able to understand and interpret others, right? Able to understand those signals, understand my own cues, what are my abilities to and my things too. All of this really able to help me cultivate that emotional intelligence. I'm able to negotiate and empathize with others. And this really decides how far I'm going to get in my life, so that's really the key, what it comes down to. And as I said earlier, like Daniel Goleman in his book about EQ says about the 4 different areas, which are the self-awareness, self-regulation, and then the able to read others' cues, social awareness, and also the relationship building. And then that leads on to the empathy. So when we talk about self-awareness, in the book, John Maxwell, it's called The Self-Aware Leader. He clearly says that the foundation of leadership, a self-aware leader, starts with knowing oneself, understanding oneself. And that requires a high amount of emotional intelligence to be able to really understand what are my buttons, right? What are my emotions? What really triggers me? And all of that is really having that self-awareness. And then self-regulation is able to, now what happened, right? Somebody just pushed my button, but what happens to me? How am I going to react to that? And what am I going to do with it? Able to have that strong ability to control my own thoughts and my feelings, and all of that is really a very high quality that a leader definitely needs to have. Then the social awareness, as I said earlier, being able to tune into others, not just the words, but very important part is the nonverbal component, also understanding that. And again, in all of this, as I said, the relationship is so important. So also the question arises, right? So even sociopaths and others can also have these 4 areas very strongly built in themselves and could be utilizing them to their advantage too. So that's where the factor of empathy comes in. It's very important that all of these things that we are utilizing, being able to tune into others, being able to read others' emotions and all of that, this is not done for our benefit, but rather it is coming from a place of compassion, coming from a place of empathy, being able to really help others. So that's also the key factor, what EQ kind of differentiates from other areas. So that's very important that we need to understand that. There was also some data finding done in corporate world, just to understand that when it came from the percentage of leaders from supervisors to the CEOs, it was found out that actually 60% EQ played a very important role in that. Like 60% EQ was high in all of these leaders. So again, it's not about IQ, definitely does matter. IQ is important, like whichever area you're going to be relative field, definitely, we have to have the basic knowledge and understanding and all of that. But as I said, the leadership, especially EQ, is a very standout factor. Amongst the high performance of leadership, 90% of the top performers were high in EQ. And then the low performers, when they also analyzed, okay, so what percentage of low performance had high EQ? So that was about 20%. But again, of course, right, there could be many other factors that could be playing into that for these individuals, they had IQ, however, they were lacking in some of the other areas. But we can see that this really distinct classification, like difference between having high performance being 90%, whereas the low being about 20% of EQ. So let's look into some of the different areas, right, when it comes to how EQ plays a significant role. And of course, right, we know IQ is the basic. IQ is something that we are born with. It doesn't change. It really is something you are given certain IQ quotient, and then you really build up your skill or whatnot, right, in the certain profession or career that you are in, things like that. But EQ, emotional intelligence, is something that we can develop ourselves. We can really grow in that area. And that's really the good part of it, that all of us, maybe we have started somewhere in the past. We all have the opportunity to grow and evolve ourselves in this area of EQ. So talking about leadership, really leadership, basically what it comes down to is the trust and that authentic care for others. So effective leaders need to understand and manage their own emotions as well as the emotions of the team members. So when we have the high IQ and the leader functions in that level, the team members are able to quickly pick up on that. And how do we come across to the people, right? We come across as very authentic. And the team members can see that the energy, that vibe, that EQ, the emotions, as we talk about emotions, they are very contagious. So as a leader responds to things, as a leader does things, everything, the team is watching and learning, and they are going to be doing that for others too. And also it's said that people really do not really care how much you know as a leader, but rather they will really care if they know that you care for others, right? That's really what it comes down to as a leader. So I can also just share about my own history too, right? So all along from my childhood, coming from Indian background, of course, right, we had a lot of emphasis on scores, academic scores. So all along, being like a A+ student in childhood, in school, in college, even my nursing college too, I was the valedictorian. So all along, there was huge emphasis on getting high scores. And back in the day, really, this topic wasn't even introduced or even anything about it. We did have some basic foundational value system that we had to follow, but it wasn't like about, let's talk about how self-aware you are, how are you, developing compassion or empathy and things like that. So, and then when after coming here, as I went into informatics and things like that, I was trying a lot for a leadership role. But when I was applying for these leadership roles, I wasn't really thinking what it meant to be a leader. Honestly, I was just thinking, as I had done all along, climbing the ladder, getting A's in everything, I was just thinking, okay, this is something I need to go explore and all that. But as I went on and on, I quickly realized that leadership is a whole different thing. It is not about me. It is really about others. And again, as I said, the EQ skills plays such a huge role in the leadership path. And slowly, as I started understanding that, my shift also drifted slightly from focus on me rather focusing on others. And I think that's when I could see the change in how my leadership journey then began to grow. And quickly I realized that all this time I had it wrong. So this EQ skill is so significant. As long as we understand that it's not about us, but about the people. And for all of this too, it is so important that we are self-aware. We are able to really understand our own emotions, able to manage our own emotions. And that's really going to be setting the foundation for us to be an effective leader. I can also give a quick example. The other day also, like I had a project going live and I had this full schedules created for the days, evening, nights, everything. And then that morning, I get a call from this person that this person is sick and they cannot make it to that certain shift. And quickly I was like, the quick reaction, right? The emotional response was like fear. How am I going to manage this project? What if I won't have enough support? What if things go wrong today? But then applying my EQ skills, pausing, really thinking rationally, taking a look at the full schedule, and be able to really tweak the things, and everything worked out fine eventually. But what I'm saying is this is like a classic example of how EQ skills are so important in the day-to-day when you talk about leadership. So again, as I said, regulating our own emotions, being in control, showing that positive attitude to the team really fosters a positive culture in the workplace. Now let's talk about conflict resolution. So even here, right, when we talk about EQ versus IQ, think about it, right? Mostly, again, from all of my experience that I've seen, as I said, even my own experience, right? When the focus was so much on academic competence, all of that, all along the focus is on competition, right? All along you're like trying to compete. You want to be the best. You want to do certain things. And all of that is there. So in that journey, you may be really not focusing so much on, really making sure that others are not harmed in that relation, or maybe there are conflicts. When a conflict happens, what's my really focus? I have to be right. I don't care what others are going to tell me, but my opinion matters and my things matter and all of that. Now, that's really how it was traditionally. I mean, as I said, in my experience, but when we understand emotional intelligence, the EQ skills, then what happens is now you start really understanding the deeper reason. Why is the conflict even happening over here? I have a certain viewpoint. This person has a certain viewpoint, but really take a look at things rationally. Let's really see where are they coming from? And, it also goes down really to the deeper values of having the respect, love, safety. There may be so many other needs that this person may be showing in. So that's really what matters. Even for that, we have to understand the EQ, really EQ skill application of that. Again, classic example I can give you, my kids, right? When they were going into this teenage phase, there were so many times like it would really take you to a certain extent where you're not able to really understand what is this reason of conflict even. But those days, of course, my EQ skills were not there, and I remember so many of the times we would end up feeling like awful because we are not able to resolve those conflicts. But then really when you look back on those situations and all of that, right, it was really a need for that love, that respect, that attention. That were some of the basic reasons why the teenagers or whoever it is in that relationship acted in certain way. But again, stepping back, really taking the time, not be in that competitive mood that I have to be always right, but rather really looking at that has been a significant really reason how we could be playing in that. Even whenever conflict happens, right, the immediate, it's like the sympathetic nervous system come into play. It's like fight, flight, fright response, and you're quickly able to get things into perspective. But then it's really, like, as I said, pausing, taking that deep breath, really doing that, it helps us really to move into that other space and understand that the other person. Even in my work experience, I could just share that there was a situation where there was a huge conflict situation at workplace where we had to have some experts also come and help with those situations. But again, looking back so many times, if we are not equipped with these EQ skills, we would really take things personally, because we will think that everything that person is doing is really because it's me. And, I'm like just trying to take everything personally and try to really put that other person down. Really, that's really what happens in conflict resolution. But as I said, developing this EQ skill is so important, because it really will help resolve those conflicts in a very efficient manner. So that's really what it is. Now, let's talk about decision making. So even in the decisions, right, when we talk about decisions, usually people think that EQ doesn't have to play any role in decision making. And even at the workplace, corporate world, I can tell you, right, there's a lot of situations where it's like, okay, let's pull up the data. What does the data say? And look at the comparison of data and let's make the decisions. But it's so important to understand that data, figures, all of that, definitely it's valuable. It is very important to make a decision. However, we should not forget the human factor that plays a major role in decision making. And when we think about decisions too, right, there's a lot of emotions that come into play when we are thinking about decision. And if we make some decision very quickly, impulsive action, right, that's what happens. And it could be sometimes we just don't make any decisions. We just procrastinate and we think, what, we're going to just push it out. So, but what are the things, right? So emotions play such a significant role in both of these actions. So it is very important to understand what happens in these scenarios. So it could be because there could be fear, there could be anxiety, there could have been some past experiences that impacted what happened to me in the last time I made a certain decision. And so all of these really play an important part. But it is so important that we are able to separate our emotions from the decision, what we are about to make, look at it in a rational way. And second, very important thing is the decision making is not just for us. We have to really look at how is it going to impact everybody around us, who is really getting impacted. And coming from that place again of not being focused on ourselves, but looking at the bigger picture, looking at everyone, is so important in decision making. So again, EQ, very high needed, as I said, compared to IQ, which is so important in decision making. And then the other thing is also, I'm going to talk a little bit about relationship also now, relationship building. Again, I'm just going to share my life story again a little bit, that growing up, as I said, there was so much focus on academics and this and that and everything. And also in between, along my life journey, also I had a huge loss. I had my close relationship person pass away. That had a major significant impact on my life. But with that loss, what I understand when I look back is that it impacted me in a way where then I had certain fear in having close relationship with people, where I would feel that I may lose them eventually. So I don't even want to have close relationships anymore. I kind of created a certain boundary wall against with me, where I wouldn't let people come too close to me. But years passed by, like as I said, got married, children, and life went along and all of that. But when I look back, I started clearly realizing that there was something in it where the way I was behaving, the way I was doing things, this was really it was playing a significant role in my life. And then, as I said, slowly as I started learning, and I also came across my spiritual faith, what I came across 12 years ago, that played a significant role in me understanding that relationships are important. Relationships are really what it matters, and not in my spiritual community, but all around for everything that I do. And I said that also caused a significant difference in my leadership journey too. As I said, like earlier, I didn't even know what it meant to be. But as I started having that, building stronger relationship with people, understanding what it really takes, because really just being you, just being ourselves and just going one track, you can only go so much. But when you have those love and care around you, those loving, strong relationships around you, life is just a whole different thing. And again, then you also understand that it's not just about climbing the ladder, but it's really about enjoying the journey, the path you are in, really relishing each and every moment. So really that helped a lot. Having this EQ skill is a significant part of relationship building. And earlier, as I said, the respect, trust and intimacy, empathy, again, all of this is not just for you, but rather focusing on others and being the best version of yourself. That's really what it comes down to. And then with all of this, we can also see that we are able to build some long lasting commitment relationship with people, those valuable people that come into your life. You really value them, you cherish their friendships and all of that. So that really made a huge difference. Like the drift happened from where I was scared of having those close relationships to now where I see myself having those strong relationships are a huge part of me right now. And again, EQ played a huge role, as I said, where I had come from the focus of IQ versus where my life is right now with the focus on EQ. And then looking at stress management too, with all of this, right? When you do that, all of these different factors, understanding myself, my own awareness, regulating my emotions, understanding others, helping my team members, helping my friends and families with regulating, be able to have their own emotion regulations, having that strong connection, relationships. Eventually, what does that do? That's really going to help me with my own stress management. So those are really some of the important factors. As I said, IQ does matter. However, emotional intelligence, EQ, is really what is going to take you in the end where you want to be, and also have a very fulfilling life, fulfilling relationship with others. And that really gives the content, really content in your relationships too. So with that, I would like to end. Thank you so much again for listening. And I'll hand it back to Saskia. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Nita, for that. You covered so much ground there in terms of how EQ trumps IQ. So I don't think there's any dispute in people's minds that EQ is the priority. And you gave some great workplace examples, and most importantly, examples of your own personal story as well. So I can't think of a better way to showcase that we need to stop focusing so much on the technical skills. Yes, they are important for problem solving, decision making, and so forth, but emotions do show up, and we have to know how to manage them a lot, not let them govern our thinking. So thank you, brilliant there. So I'm just in the essence of time. I am the next speaker. So let me go ahead and pull up my presentation for today. And I'll be talking about how EQ relates to resilience. Favorite topic. All right, so how resilience and emotional intelligence relate to each other. So I'm sure you've heard before, but I'm going to introduce myself again. My name is Saskia Christian. I am a certified life transformation and trauma-informed coach and your host and organizer for today. I'm also a resilience architect that specialize in helping professionals overcome their adversities for passion and purpose-driven comebacks. So BreakThru, the company that I birthed, it's really all about equipping with mental wellness and leadership development tools to help the professional heal and empower. And of course, resilience and emotional intelligence are very, very key ingredients in that offering that we have for professionals. I'm also a published author, a co-author of the book On Purpose, Strategies for Living and Leading, that was released today, where I covered all about how you can reclaim your power if you are ever faced with talent marginalization. So, of course, my passion is helping you tap into your resilience power to fulfill your life purpose. Very important. and it's a pleasure presenting to you today. So let's first delve into what EQ is. EQ is that really emotional skill set, and it's also a crucial workplace skill set as well, and personal skill set or attributes that really help people to preserve their optimistic emotions and manage and leverage the emotions intelligently and appropriately, right? And of course, interpret others' emotions. So it's really about ensuring that your thinking does not govern your emotions, but your emotions govern your thinking. So whenever you're in a crisis, you will always be, it'll be easier for you to actually reach a compromising position with the other, because you're able to relate better with the other person, understand their position, and come to a compromise and a middle ground. So it also, the above, EQ, informs your decision-making process. And of course, Nita drew reference to that there. And lastly, it helps you cope with the adversities in life. So we really do need that. So how can it benefit you? EQ. Well, there are quite a lot of statistical supporting evidence here. But let's talk about the leaders with empathy. They perform over 40% higher in employee engagement, decision-making, and coaching. So it is significant. People with high IQ, there's also, they make actually $29,000 more per year according to Talent Smart Research. And then when they surveyed CEOs, 500 of them, they found that 75% of the long-term job success depends or is driven by people skills and not the technical skills. Salespeople with high IQ produce twice the revenue of those with average or below average scores. And there was even a study where you have technical programmers, actually in the top 10% of EQ, they actually develop programming software like about 3 times faster than below average or average EQ scores technical programmers. And lastly, 72% of the employees ranked respectful treatment of all employees at all levels as top priority in job satisfaction, which translates to engagement, higher work engagement. We have greater collaboration, which then impacts productivity and overall profitability. So as you can see, it's just a wonderful array of benefits here in terms of personal benefits for well-being and decision-making and so forth, and the team dynamics aspect. So what is resilience? Resilience is that formula of grit, perseverance, and optimism that helps you to overcome those setbacks and difficulties and challenges in your life. We need that. And it helps you to adapt to change. And change is an everyday, you can expect change. Change is inevitable. And it helps you thrive in the new normal that you're in. You're never going to go back exactly to where you were before the change happens, but it helps you to thrive at that new normal because many things have changed. And lastly, it's really attitude. It transforms your adversities into opportunities, positivity. So thinking about all that those undesirable things that you're converting into positive things. What a gift. It's such a gift. And I've used that so much in my personal and professional life. And it's something that can be developed. So how can resilience benefit you? We talk about it really helps you to cope with stressful situation. It builds the organizational culture, right? In the resilience training, if we do invest in resilience training, it makes great business sense. And according to Price Water Cooper study in 2014, the initiatives and the programs that actually fostered resilience and mental health awareness returned $2.30 for every dollar spent. I can't think of a better ROI than that. Can you? And of course, the greatest return of the resilient workforce is in productivity, greater problem solving, innovation, and effectiveness of teams delivering good work all the time. So it helps you with so much in terms of finding what your purpose is, walking in that beautifully, maintaining perspective in terms of for another, managing your stress, dealing with social awareness. So a plethora of benefits. And we absolutely need that now working with EQ. So EQ and resilience in terms of close relationship with each other EQ feeds into resilience power, and resilience power feeds into EQ. They work in complement with each other. Both are necessary skills that can be developed, they can be practiced, they can be nurtured. And EQ, of course, we covered that about myself and Nita, maintaining optimistic feelings and interpreting all the emotions, dealing with difficulties. That's what it provides. Resiliency, on the other hand, if you equip yourself with greater self-awareness, a greater sense of belonging and having that connection with your community, feeling relevant, you will in turn be working on building your resilience. So let's first look briefly at the relationship between EQ and resilience and what brings that commonality together. So first talking about cultivation of self-awareness, EQ being the predictor of resiliency power, and then of course building of social connection. So self-awareness cultivation. According to Daniel Goleman, is a famous EQ expert. He said emotional intelligence is critical and it affects personal resilience in a crisis. And of course, EQ is that great foundation for emotion awareness, right? And growing in resilience requires self-knowledge. So you can see the connection there. So before you need to become aware of really how you react to situations so that you can better control the outcome, control the reaction. And they work beautiful together to help you respond to the crisis moments. And of course, has great benefits in terms of your mental, physical well-being and your overall quality of life upliftment from life satisfaction and all other aspects of life. So I challenge you to develop an understanding of how you react and why by introspectively reflecting on your own emotions facing your circumstances. Examine your heart and ask yourself those tough questions. If you see any patterns in your negative emotions, right, that may be driving your decision making and maybe impacting the circumstances outcome. And of course, the next way in how the two connect together would be EQ being a predictor of resilience. Emotional resilience is really key to how resilient a person will be in the workplace. And the same behaviors, which is key, that demonstrate resilience rely primarily on whether an individual is going to demonstrate emotional intelligence. So both working hand in hand, both depend on each other, right? When coming to facing challenges, overcoming them, working through those day-to-day constraints and stressful situations that do sweep up every now and then. So I encourage you here to look at, develop your emotional intelligence by taking the time to really look into what's happening in your circumstances. Who are the players, me or others? Who's feeling what? What am I feeling, right? And really just get a sense of how you impacting, that relationship or that conversation, right? How do my reactions affect others? How can I change my reactions to drive the reactions I would like to see? Because it's all about the results. You want to get great results. You have to see the other party. So EQ builds social connection, last point. EQ is indeed a growth process, right? Just like resilience. But EQ, it helps you handle pressure, it helps you handle stressful situations, and it safeguards your mental health and your physical well-being. It is that ability to really demonstrate empathy, and you heard us talk about that for the last number of days. Empathy to your community. It's not all about you. It's about the people around you. How do you show up? Leaders with high EQ strive to understand their team members and give them the tools to succeed. And of course, it is very evident that support and compassion for others, it has a positive impact on your own emotional adjustment. And guess what? Support and compassion also translates into greater collaboration, which also really helps or enhances business performance metrics as well. So self-relevancy and is also increasing, causing increased resilience. So as you can see, collaboration and influence, once we have those impacted, right, you can actually turn your adversaries, and make them into allies, which is pivotal. So this here, the sedimentation graph, from ResearchGate just shows beautifully how emotional intelligence and resilience trend well with each other for enhancing life satisfaction. Beautiful trend. So in conclusion, I just want to highlight how EQ and resilience are co-dependent. They work in complement with each other to provide us with great mental and physical well-being, survival and thriving in life, and we all need that. I've used that so many times. And joy, satisfaction, and contentment, productivity and problem-solving competency, creativity, and social adaptation and relationships restoration. I can't think of a better value system than that for EQ and resilience, working together to produce here. So overall, best quality of life. So I thank you so much for this time, and I will move us on to the next presenter. One second. And that will be Julie Jones, unleashing your voice, saying no without disrupting team unity. Excellent, Julie Jones. Welcome to the stage. Great to see you.
Well, it's awesome to see you as well. I'm super excited to be here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about is, how to say no, right? Obviously, I said yes to you for being on the summit. So I'm incredibly grateful to be here. And I'm glad I'm here early because I am on early. So how exciting. So let me go ahead and get started, and I'm going to keep track of time. I always believe that, time is our most valuable asset. So you may find that, during my presentation, you may get the gift of time back. I like to make my presentations interactive. So if at all possible, like if you have anything that is coming up for you or you want to put into the chat, I know Colleen is monitoring the chat. I've got an eye on it as well, and that I'm able to answer the questions because I want to value you for showing up today and taking the time to be here to learn about all the amazing information that is being presented on this summit. So how do we say no, right? And still be considered a team player? That's really an important concept because I think for most of us as entrepreneurs, for human beings, saying no is one of the hardest things that we can do because it really does seem to have an impact on the fact of how we are looked at. People don't often want to say no for fear of what it makes them seem like, feel like, whatever it is. See, because being an overachiever isn't a bad thing unless you're guilty of constantly overcommitting. So let me just share a quick story about myself and how I overcommitted once and how it really impacted me. Is there anybody out there that really does struggle sometimes with saying the word no? Back about, I would say this was 6 years ago, I was saying yes to everything, and I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own business and I like to give back. And when I do anything, it's really truly about giving 120%. So if I decide to join a networking group, I'm seeing how I can give more, how I can be in a leadership role, how I can make a difference in that event, in that community, whatever it may look like. Well, back about 6 years ago, I had been saying yes to so much in my life that when it came time to attending an important event back in Wisconsin, where I'm from, where my sister-in-law was having a surprise birthday party, and my brother called me to ask me if I was going to be there, my response was no, because of all the overcommitment that I found myself deep in. And it was in that moment that I took a step back because I heard the disappointment in my brother's voice that I wasn't going to be there with family. See, for me, family is one of the most important things that I have as a value, like spending time with those that I love, because I'm very clear that people don't want more things. They want our time and they want to experience life with us. So in that moment, I literally did the only thing I knew how to do was I curled up in a ball and I cried. And I cried hard because I was saying no to something that I wanted to be saying yes to. And it was in that moment that I really started taking a look at everything that I had been saying yes to and realizing that it was no longer serving me, that I was overcommitting, that I was a people pleaser, that I was doing things just out of a sense of expectation rather than choosing what I really wanted to do. And so in that moment, I started making phone calls and removing myself from things that I had committed to. In that moment, it didn't feel very good, but it also taught me an important lesson, which I'm going to share some tips with you today of really how to determine when to say no and when to say yes. And that improves your self-esteem, shows that you're a team player, but more importantly, preserves your sanity. Because again, not a very great feeling to have to withdraw from a lot of things. People understood. And the silver lining is that I did go to that birthday party, and the look on my sister-in-law's face is a memory that I will always have for the rest of my life because of her excitement that I was there as a surprise. She was surprised by the party, but to see me in the audience, because I've always said, I'm too busy. And so I want to take that busy off of your plate and really give you some tips today on how to go ahead and be able to say no effectively without it chipping away at your self-esteem and being a team player. So one of the things that you can do is that when somebody asks you to, be part of a project or to do something, it's really important that you say, if it's not an immediate yes, or you're not sure what kind of time it's going to take, the easiest thing you can say is, let me get back to you on that. Or can I have 24 hours to make a decision? And then take that time to really examine how that's going to impact you. Really think about all the time commitments. See, because it's really hard for us to always kind of discern whether or not saying yes to something is going to move us forward in our business. Listen to your gut. Your gut is there to support you. Your intuition is there to support you. I mean, if it's an immediate no, it's an immediate no. And I will give you ways and things that you can say to help you be better at saying no without the guilt. Because I think that really is a big component of everything that we're talking about, is that people don't want to feel guilty. So when somebody catches you off guard, just ask for that 24 hours or ask for, let me get back to you on that, but then get back to them. And if it's a no, it's a no. Second way that you can do this, if you're taking any notes, is I'm not available until X, and then give them a date. If you know your calendar, or if you're at work, know when you're available, when those projects are off your plate, that you can go ahead and then work it into a new time frame. See, it's all about making yourself a priority, and what you already have on your plate is your priority. It really, truly is. So you might be interested in that project, but it just doesn't fit in right now. And it may fit in later on down the road. I often do this when I am excited about partaking in something. It's a negotiation process. How can we negotiate and still make it a win-win situation for everyone involved? See, the worst thing that I believe people can do is to give a reluctant yes, and then you're not in it. And everybody feels that energy that you're not in it to help create a win-win situation. So before you give the quick yes, just back off and check your calendar. And that doesn't look like working extra hours. What are your boundaries around the hours that you are going to actually be in place? See, when we work from home, and I work from home, and I'm not sure how many people who are attending work from home, but it's very easy when you have a home office to always be working, to always be on. I'm just going to check one more thing. I'm just going to answer that text. I'm just going to answer that email. And then we find ourselves 2 and 3 hours later, still involved in something that doesn't serve anyone. Like, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've often taught people, especially with emails and autoresponders, that shows that you're still a team player, is that to have on your autoresponder that when somebody sends an email, it can automatically respond that you answer emails at maybe 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. or whenever it is at the beginning and the end of your day. Because too many people are responding constantly, and then you wonder why it may be eating up your day. So if you're not the right fit for something, one of the number 3 that you can do is suggest another person, suggest a team member, right? But don't throw people under the bus. If you know that they're just as busy as you, don't do that to someone else that forces them to now have to say no. But there are so many times where we know of people who may be looking for a project, or maybe looking to sit on a board, or looking for volunteer opportunities, or looking for something else to do to be a team player. Suggest those people. Let those people know. Maybe even ask them before you give their name. Hey, Colleen is looking for, somebody to help her with this project. Are you interested? Be strong and bold enough that if it's really, truly not for you, then you just say no. However, if you do know people that are looking, then go ahead and suggest those people to that team member. Number 4, something to easily say, I already would, and I have a prior commitment. Don't say but, because but kind of negates it. I would love to help you. I'm honored that you asked me, and I have a prior commitment. And sometimes when we take a look at our calendar, maybe that prior commitment might be something that's important to you. See, when we want to be helping, again, that reluctant yes doesn't support anyone. If it's some type of commitment for you, maybe it's a self-care act, maybe it's something that you've been looking forward to doing, stay strong and stay with your, hey, I've got another commitment. See, you don't have to explain to people what that other commitment is. There is no reason to have to ever justify a no. No, really, truly is a complete sentence. However, sometimes in a team environment, or sometimes when you're working with other people, you don't want to see it as rude. So you go right away to justifying. These are ways that you can maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a little bit more of tact, or maybe it's a little bit easier on the ears when you're saying no. Here's a big one, and I've already talked about this. I am not able to give my best to this right now. I am not able to give my best to this right now. That's number 5, if you're taking any kind of notes. Because really, quite honestly, we always want to give, a lot of when we're giving our time, we want to make that time valuable. And so when you're giving your best to something, it will always be met with respect. If you're telling people, hey, listen, I'm not able to give 100%. People understand that. People want all of you dedicated to the project. They don't only just want part of you. So the other thing, number 6, to really take a look at is, are you the right person for the job? See, it boosts our ego a little bit when somebody sees something in us to say, hey, would you like to participate in this? Hey, would you like to be part of this team project? Yet we deep down know that maybe we're not the best person for that. And again, it's the simple, hey, let me suggest to you someone else that may be a better fit, right? No one wants you to take on a quality job if you're not qualified to doing it. Here's a great quote that I love. Don't feel bad about saying no to things you know you'd make a mess of. Don't feel bad about saying no to things you know you'd make a mess of. Listen, we know, like I know where my talents lie, right? Like I am very clear. And so to ask me to do something else is not in my wheelhouse. It's like, why? That's why I've surrounded myself with a team of amazing people so that if it's not in my wheelhouse, I have other people that I can refer to. See, there's enough like business, especially if you're an entrepreneur, to go around for all of us. Stay in your lane. Like figure out what it is that makes your heart sing. If anybody has ever done any work around the zone of genius, like the zone of genius means that you could be doing something 24/7. You love it that much. Now I'm here to tell you, it's not always about doing it 24/7, even though you could, because you have to have some me time, right? But 24/7 and you're getting paid to do it. You're getting paid to do it. What do you love to do? If you haven't picked up, one of the things that I love to do is I love to get paid to talk. Like that is one of my favorite things that I get most excited about, that if you give me an opportunity to speak or to be on a summit or to do anything around public speaking, I will always be a yes. I will always be a yes if it fits comfortably in my schedule, right? Because again, it doesn't serve me if I'm saying yes to everything and then I'm overworked, overwhelmed, and stressed out, and then I'm not delivering 100%. Here's something that you can also do as well. Number 7 is ask people to send you a summary of exactly what they want you to do, because here's the thing, like a lot of times we don't have all the information before we're saying yes or no. So get those details, ask for what you need to help you to make the best decision for you. You're not going to always have it 100% of the time completely, but make sure that you have the information and make sure that somebody's not trying to pass the buck to you. Like maybe they weren't competent for it and now they're trying to pass it off on you. Like just knowing what is going to be, God, I just lost my train of thought. Of expected of you, like, right? Like expected of you so that you know, like where you are headed. So another thing that you can do, number 8, is maybe you're not able to help with the whole project, but maybe you're able to help with a certain part of the project because that's in your wheelhouse. So if there is something, I actually am certified in a program called the Working Genius, if anybody's ever heard of it. And the Working Genius is about productivity, like how people love to do parts of their job, and there's other parts that they find their frustration. So if you're finding things like are your frustration, then that's not your wheelhouse. But maybe there's a part of a project that you know you would be very effective at, and you can just ask if it's possible for you to do that component of the project. Finally, one of the things that you can do is like if all else has failed, just tell people, hey, listen, just use me as a last resort. Like if there really truly is no one else and you've really asked everybody else, and then I can maybe play a small role. Again, like just say, hey, can you use me maybe as a last resort? If all of these fail and like you are still struggling, again, no. No is a complete sentence. And I just want to leave you with that thought, because for so many of us, we get worried about how we are going to be perceived. And I'm telling you, people want a direct response. Like I tell people all the time when, I am coaching them, you are not paying me for fluff. You are paying me to give you the direct response of what you need to hear. And sometimes no is the kindest, best way that we can serve other people when we're part of a team, but more importantly, how we can serve ourselves. So on that note, I kept it short and sweet so that you can, keep everything on task. Although I should say, because I didn't do anything fun, right? Because I'm always about the fun girl. Go ahead and, incorporate more fun into each and every day. And trust me, you can have fun saying no. All right.
Wow, that is wonderful, Julie. Thank you so much for leveling all of us in how to say no and still maintain unity in the place. But most importantly, be comfortable with yourself and don't put too many demands on yourself, because people really want people who are authentic, so when they give that answer of no, they know it's coming from the right place and you're at peace with it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is just beautiful all around. I am more empowered now to say no because of that great bit of wisdom that you just dropped there for all of us. So, Colleen, I'm wondering, thank you, Julie. I'm wondering if we can open up for a little bit, because we're like 20 minutes or so.
Yes. I think that's a wonderful idea. So far, we've had Nita, Saskia, and Julie speak, and I would love for the attendees to please raise your hand and let us know that you would like to be brought forward to make a comment, ask a question. I would love for you to be able to do that. So anyone who is an attendee today, or if you are a panelist and speaker and you would love to ask or make a comment to Saskia or Julie or Nita this morning. I know Nita isn't with us, but we would love to hear from you if you have a comment. So we'll go ahead and open it up for at least 5 or 10 minutes. So all you have to do is raise your hand. And when you raise your hand, then we will be able to see you and be able to offer to bring you forward. I'm going to start with a comment to just say that, Saskia, I'm just blown away at the level of your intelligence in emotional intelligence. I mean, it is incredible. The depth and the resilience piece, I think, is what is missing the most right now. And we've found so much in mental health because of the lack of resilience. And I don't believe we're taught resilience. Do any of you remember being taught resilience in school? No, it wasn't on the agenda. So this is such an important topic. So any of you out there that may be suffering with depression or anxiety or mental health or anything else that may be happening in your life, look to being more educated in emotional intelligence and resilience. We don't really connect those two dots. And so I just wanted to share that. And of course, Julie, you always have the best advice for all of us on how to have fun. But in addition to how to have fun, you always have the best advice on, how to say no and really understanding what your boundaries are. And we heard about boundaries yesterday as well, so I think having that told more than once is wonderful. So we do have Deborah. So I'm going to go ahead and give Deborah the opportunity as soon as I find her to be able to, let me find her. Where did she go? There she is. Deborah, you're on stage.
Hello, Deborah.
Good morning. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for all the information. Julie, I met you and heard you speak at a women's conference in March with Sean Jones. And I suffer a lot from overextending myself, not saying no. And it's like, oh, it's such a compliment. People want me to do this, or they want me to do that. So I kind of like feel obligated to do that because they've asked me. So thank you so much for saying step back, analyze it, take it as a compliment because it is a compliment, but realize what you can do and what you can't do. I know I'm going to say your name wrong, Miss Christian. I met you at chamber event.
Chamber, yes, I remember.
Yes. And again, no one taught us about EQ. No one. So, it's like EQ. What? That another alphabet soup thing that I have to figure out what these acronyms stand for. And sometimes it's just sit back. Sometimes we don't know we're anxious. Sometimes we don't know we're depressed by the stuff that's been happening in our life. We don't know. So it is so valuable that you ladies, that you women are stepping forward and helping us identify what have been some things that have been going on with us. And we're just thinking we're suffering alone and that there's no one else out there that are having these feelings or having these issues. So I want to so much thank you for bringing this to the forefront, for opening my eyes a little bit, and for not feeling bad to say no to some things, because I need to do that for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deborah. Brilliantly said. Love the connection here. And we're so happy that we were able to share such great, wisdom and insights that will, you'll be able to apply in your life when you go off today. So thank you so much and keep sharing. Please email me any questions, and that goes for the general audience as well. SaskiaC@BoostThru.com. Send me your questions, commentary, anything around resiliency, emotional intelligence, or even, the information or so forth that the speakers gave today as well. So just reach out and we'll get you that. We'll get back to you.
Thank you, Deborah. Alessandro, you are ready to go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I love the part. The most useful for me is the ways to say no, because nobody teaches us to say no. We want to be everything for everybody, for our family, for our husband, for our community in the church, for everything, even for the horses where I volunteer in the ranch. So there is a way to say no when you feel that you are not fulfilling your spiritual needs or your business or your time to have peace and retreat to yourself and come back better and stronger for others. So I learned all the ways. It's not my moment. Let me think 24 hours. I am not ready to commit 100%. I'm taking notes of that, and I started to say no without feeling guilty for saying no and thinking myself first. Thank you so much for that.
Wonderful. I am so glad that you had your empowerment today. So happy that we were part of that process. Most importantly, thank you, Julie, for empowering another. It's okay to say no. Thank you, Alessandra. Beautiful.
Would anybody else like to ask a question? We have several of you out there that are attending today, or maybe just make a comment about one of the speakers that you've already heard up to this point. Or if this is your day 2 and you were here yesterday, is there a speaker, maybe something landed with you last night after day 1 and you'd like to share that information with us? And you can also feel free to put a message in the chat if you would feel more comfortable with that. I would love to hear from some of our speakers. What have you taken away from today already being here? Robbie, go ahead and unmute yourself and share with us what you feel that you've taken away from today.
Well, I love the no things that you can say no, because I'm a yes person. But I've learned something that if it doesn't really fit into what you're doing, then it's okay to say no. And so that was great. And I also loved all the stuff about EQ and the AI, because that is the future, whether we like it or not. So it's wonderful to have some dynamic speakers that are sharing their knowledge, because every day is a day in the little red schoolhouse of life 101. And as long as we keep showing up, we can grow and learn, no matter what age we are.
So
Well,
true.
Well
It
said.
doesn't
Completely
ever
agree.
stop.
Yep. Continuous learning. Thank you, Dr. Robbie. Appreciate that.
That was beautiful. Okay, last call. Do we have anyone else that would love to share a comment? Oh, Susie would like to speak. So Susie, go ahead and share your comment.
Yes, since this is the second day, it's just full of so many juicy morsels. I also loved what Julie had to say about so many different ways to say no and not to feel bad about it if we cannot participate in every single opportunity that comes to us. And I also loved what Cheetah was talking about, how EQ is even more important than IQ, because EQ is something that we continue to develop throughout our life. And so there's just no end to how much value we can get out of it. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
you.
you, Susie.
Thank you, Dr. Susie. Anyone else? Any takers? If not, we'll just continue on with the agenda.
I think we're good to continue on, and then we can take another break in a little while, and also we'll have some questions, and let's move forward.
All right. So our next speaker is none other than Dr. Laurie Davis. Laurie is going to be presenting how does self-compassion help you cope with feedback and criticism. Dr. Laurie, please take the stage. So happy to have you here with us. Thank you.
Well, good morning, ladies. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Of course, our esteemed leader, Lady Dr. Robbie Motter, is always connecting us to opportunities. So she informed me about this, and you too, Saskia. So thank you. And I've been taking some notes too, and I know all about that, Julie, that boundary thing, because I was like Robbie. I said yes to everything. And probably yes to two men I never should have married. So, you know, I mean, that's how that works, right? I'm going to be a little bit challenging, maybe, I don't know. I always found it difficult, emotional intelligence. I always found it to be a bit of an oxymoron, really, because intelligence is the intellect and emotions are feelings. And so oftentimes we try to solve matters of the heart with the head. And that's because we've all been programmed and conditioned, as our first speaker spoke about, the academic, the intellect that has been so highly overrated over the years. So I am the founder and CEO of Self-Worth, the Missing Link. We've been in business for 32 years, and I've developed almost 1,000 workshops to support people in 3 areas. One, their self-worth. So I interpreted your word self-compassion as to self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-regard. And certainly wherever that's operating from is how we respond and react to criticism or to feedback that doesn't sit well with us. I'm an expert in the area of the repair and restoration of your self-worth. Now, and we have all kinds of things to back it up, but 3 things I discovered after 27 years of working with people. I was a school teacher by profession. Then I had a sales and marketing job with that beautiful company that gives out those pink cars, and I had 4 of them, Mary Kay Cosmetics. I learned so much about myself in that experience. But that was 27 years of working with people. And I came home one day and I said to my husband, Ron, I have discovered something. It was like an invention. And he said, what's that? I said, well, after working with kids and adults and women and men, all cultures, all backgrounds, here's what I've come to understand. Number 1, most people are walking around feeling like there's something wrong with them. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever. The second thing is and that's self-worth. That's a lack of love of self. Number 2, Most people lack confidence. I might be really confident in my job, but I may not be confident in my marriage. See? And I could be confident in my marriage, but struggling with my business I want to get off the ground. So confidence is our ability to take risks. It's not the same thing as self-compassion or self-love. I know lots of people who have tons of confidence, but they don't have any self-worth. And this comes out in how we act, how we behave, how we react. So the third thing is poor communication skills. Communicating to be able to get the results that we want, either personally and or professionally. So that's where I started. And I started with 10 workshops, and I now have almost 1,000. And every one has hardcore curriculum to go with it. Workbooks, materials. It's taken decades. But this I know over and over. So we're going to have a little fun. So if you have a piece of paper, because I'm like Julie, I'm all about fun. I don't know how many of you are moms or parents or dads, but let's make a list of what do little kids do when they get upset or they don't get their own way. And we can brainstorm out loud, or you can put it in the chat to everyone. As soon as you have a word, why don't we put them in the chat? So you've taken, your little guy to Walmart and he wants a chocolate bar and you don't want to buy it. If you have children, you understand what I'm talking about. So what are some ways that children deal with not getting their own way, or they get upset, or they're disappointed? Let's go. Temper tantrum. Yes, temper tantrum. Cry. And I want you to write these down, okay, on your paper as they come up, because we need to do a little follow-up with it. So they cry, they throw tantrums, they stomp their feet, right? Slam doors. They say mean things. I hate you, Mom. They say mean things. What else do they do? Oh, run away. Oh, Susie, yes. I ran away once. I was 8 and I took a peanut butter sandwich and I went out behind the garage and I sat there all day. And at 5 o'clock, I was hungry. So I came back into the house and I started crying. And I said to my mom, nobody came and looked for me. And my mom said, oh, you didn't need to worry. I knew exactly where you were, because about every 15 minutes, I would run out to the garage and look out the back window. You just didn't see me, but I was watching. Take it out on their siblings. Yeah, bullying. I know kids who bully their parents. And in some homes, the dog is in control. So what else do? They take it out, they cry, slam doors. Would somebody like to write that up there for me? Slam doors, punch, pinch, pull hair. Hide. They hide. Any more? Do we have it? Got the idea? Throw away things. Yes. They break things. Throw stuff across the floor. Oh, evade adults. Yeah. Avoidance. It's a good one. Avoidance. Avoiding. Isolate. Insulate. All right, ladies. Now this is the fun part. We've got the picture. So when we're talking about emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, let's have you go down and check off any of these things you've done as an adult woman or man. What have you done? Well, I've cried, I've negotiated, I've run away. Oh, and we forgot to put abuse in there. Abusive, hitting, physically abusive, emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, all the abuses. Okay. All right. I don't think there's such a thing as constructive criticism. All criticism is destructive. So I'm very cautious of that word criticism. When people criticize, they're actually judging us. And when we talked earlier, some of the speakers spoke about, and perhaps Julie, it was you, about the boundaries. The thing that we fear the most about saying no is the rejection. It's all about rejection, which is one of the 5 greatest fears that we work with and that we live with, rejection. Okay, so how did we do? How did we do? Does somebody want to make a comment or feedback? Maybe one of our panelists. Did you check anything off, first of all? Did anybody check anything off? Yes or no? Help me out here. Answer. Let's have one panelist respond. Who would like to speak on this? What did you see?
I'll speak. I will speak because it's like I have done quite a bit of the crying. Like when I have gotten to the point where it's like seriously, when it's just, like too much. And I just cry. Like I can feel it welling up. And I quite honestly used to see crying as a sign of weakness. So now I bawl like a big old baby. And like, let me tell you, it really does help. It really
Yes, it does.
help.
There's nothing wrong with that. Robbie says, I've cried, I've run away, and I've avoided. Okay, yeah. So what does this mean, really? Well, it means that our emotional responses or reactions to things as adults is usually rooted in that child in there, and some people call it the inner child. I call it the little dude in control. The little dude in control. So, we've all had things happen to us to interrupt and interfere with that emotional quotient. This is where I'm coming from, a different side of it, because like I believe Saskia said, nobody sat us down and taught us how to be resilient. Well, you know what? I don't know about you, but I don't ever recall my mom ever sitting me down and saying, honey, this is how you love yourself, even when the you-know-what hits the fan and the whole world is against you. This is how you continue to stay in love with who you are. Because I didn't like who I was. I had turned myself into something that I didn't even like. I'd look in the mirror and I'd go, who are you, really? And I had evolved into this personality and person that I didn't even like who I was. I certainly wouldn't have been friends with me. All right. I wouldn't have been my friend. So we all, on the paper, I want you to write your chronological age. And of course, we're all going to put 29, right? Put your chronological age in the top right-hand corner of the paper. Because you see, intellectually, Anita spoke about this, academically stimulated education, all the intellectual stuff that we've learned is probably beyond our years. We're probably all really smarter than that age. Okay. Oh, people are putting their ages up on the chat. That's okay. You don't have to, but all right, I'm 74. Okay. So at 74, intellectually, I've surpassed that. Then physically, our bodies change, grow, evolve, get through childbirth, stretch, get thin. I have 4 sizes in my closet: small, medium, large, and oh my God. I just came out of the oh my gosh. I should have said, oh my gosh, right? So physically, we are our chronological age, 85, 73, 74, whatever, right? Spiritually, we are on a path. We might have started out as a Catholic and we end up joining a monastery, and then we decide that's not, where we want to go. And so we're going to be, a child of the universe. It's all very, so I don't put an age on that because I think that's eternal, right? Our spiritual life. But emotionally, that's the next one, E. So you've got I for intellect, P for physical, S for spiritual, and then emotional. So if you think back, how old were you when you had your first setback? When you realized that the world was not a perfect place and that for some reason you couldn't explain it or defend yourself, but you recognized something. So for some people, it's 5, some people it's 8, some people it's 13, some people it's 2. Do you know what? That's when we stop growing emotionally. Boom, right there. So that's why you have, it's okay to be childlike. It's healthy to be childlike so we can connect with our children and play, but it's not healthy to be childish. So to be childish is to react and respond like you would when you were a little kid, because that little kid in there, that little girl in there, that little guy in there has been totally derailed emotionally because we don't want to feel that pain, that hurt. So we'll do anything to avoid it. Anything. So here's the fun part of this. So I would say that I was probably 6 when we had our first family setback. My mom lost a little baby girl, and I recall that incident. I can remember what I was wearing, and we were living way up in the north, and no family, and my dad had to send that little girl home to Nova Scotia, Canada, to have my grandparents look after her. And that's when my first trauma was losing that little sister. Well, that was it for me. And then you have another trauma. At 12, I was sexually assaulted by a family member. That was a traumatic event. And when I couldn't get my business off the ground, a very good mentor that I had at the time, 32 years ago, I said, I don't know what's wrong. I just can't get my business off the ground. People are leaving. They don't want to be with me. They say they're going to do something and then they don't. And if I lost a customer, I cried for a week. And she looked at me and she said, well, she knew why. She knew all this. And she said, well, Lori, I'm sorry, but I don't know what a 12-year-old would know about running a corporation. I went, what? Mm-hmm. So then you have a 6-year-old girl meets boy, and maybe emotionally he's 4. So now you have a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy coming together, trying to have a relationship. And what happens when a couple starts a fight? When a couple starts fighting and arguing, those 2 little kids come out duking it out. And we never get past the emotions to actually handle what it is we're fighting about. Because maybe I start to cry and now he's got to deal with the tears, and we don't ever really get there. So developing our emotional quotient requires lots of personal work. And that's what we've been doing, helping people do that. The how-to. How do I get there? I had people say to me, well, you're a beautiful person. You should really love yourself. And I'd say, but I don't know how to do that. How? Give me the how-to. So it's okay to say we should do this or this or this, but I'm a how-to person. Give you the toolkit, right? The most valuable and the last hurdle for me in building my emotion quotient was, and this relates to my topic, how I respond and react to feedback. I used to take things very personally. That was a behavior. That was an attitude. Because when we have had those events and we haven't really healed from them properly, they're always in the forefront of how we react and respond to things. So my very last hurdle was to stop being offended. And I'm going to tell you, that was hard, especially when it's people that you love. Some of the people that have hurt me the most are the people that I care about the most. And that was really hard. So when somebody doesn't show up or they don't do things the way I want, or I was a control freak and a perfectionist. Why? Because that's how I was able to hide my shame around the things that had happened to me. When I was 12 and was assaulted by that favorite uncle of mine, I didn't tell anybody till I was 45. And we all have secrets. And that impacts and impedes our ability to grow emotionally. I like to think that I have emotionally matured. And we need to help. I have a client who sent me her 13-year-old son who's still acting like he's 3 because he hasn't emotionally matured. with his chronological age, because actually something must be up. Something's gone down. And that's what happens. The intellect wants us to do things right. The intellect wants us to do things perfectly. The intellect wants us to do things without error. So the intellect wants us to do things right. The heart wants us to do the right things. It's different. Two words interchanged changed everything for me. The heart wants us to do the right things, even if others don't agree with us, or if others don't approve. You see, when I did not have any self-worth or self-love, I spent my whole life seeking the approval of other people. Just like Julie referred to, I couldn't say no. If the church called and said, we need 10 apple pies at 5 o'clock and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd drive all over town finding 10 apple pies to take to the church for 5 o'clock. You know, we're women, we can multitask. We can be on the phone, changing a diaper, cooking dinner, all at the same time. Because that's how our brain works. That's how our mind works. Did you know now they can actually measure the energy field around our heart versus the energy field around our brain? The heart energy field is 5,000% greater than the energy field around our brain. So when you can always tell when people are highly intellectual because they always respond with the word think. Well, I think about this, well, I think this or think that or think. You know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. I want to know what they know based on their experience, which brings them their credibility, which has nothing to do with a certificate on the wall. So in my organization of Self-Worth, the Missing Link, if somebody has never been divorced, they don't get to participate in that part of what we do to support that. I authored a parenting program because I knew about children and I knew about self-worth, but I've never had my own children. I couldn't have any. The greatest sadness in my life, because I love kids. But guess what? I never facilitated that parenting program. Even though I've parented a lot of people, right? And Robbie, how many women have you parented? Robbie, how many kids do you actually have? Thousands, right? So getting out of here and getting into here is what we're talking about. But the question is, how do I do that when I've operated my whole life out of my head? And I've tried to solve all my problems from the neck up. So we have to become holistic and connected, get it connected. And that's what we do, is help people make that connection so that you can make, you know, when you, somebody said, go with your guts. That's the same thing really. But when you go with your heart, you'll be right every single time. But you see what happens. We get a great idea, right? We get an idea for a business or, you know, something creative we want to do. And then it's going to get 100% of your energy. And then your head starts talking to you about all the reasons why it isn't going to work. If that was such a good idea, somebody would have already done it. Well, that's okay. You do it, just do it better. We have these programs, these tapes. Grade 10, I walked into my homeroom. I was so excited to be in high school because I never really made good grades. In junior high, I was lucky to pull off a 65 or a 70 just to get past. And of course, as a teacher, and I know this from personal experience, you get cumulative record cards from each student. And so my cumulative record cards had been read, and my homeroom teacher looked at me and she said, Lori Jeffers, you know what? With those marks, you're probably not going to amount to anything. Can you believe that? And I looked at her and I thought, because I always thought differently. If you get through life and you have 2 or 3 really beautiful friends, you'll be really blessed. And I went, what? At that time, there were probably 3 billion people on the planet. I said, Mom, you mean there's 3 billion people on the planet and I'm only allowed to have 3 friends? Really? See, I always go somewhere different with it. And you know, those other programs that we listen to, eat all of your food on the plate because there are children out there starving to death. Well, in my mind was put the plate in a brown envelope, put a stamp on it and send it out. You see, so I always questioned the status quo and I didn't buy into everything. And when I left teaching, I had all my teacher friends say, oh boy, what are you you're gonna sell cosmetics? You're gonna hump those pink bags as my pink Cadillac is sitting in the schoolyard from my part-time cosmetic business. I said, yes, I have to grow beyond this. I don't want to be in this room for 35 years and year in and year out. And there were things going on too that I didn't agree with. So I bailed out. There were things happening in 1984 that was not going to support our students. So out I go. Well, how are you going to pay your mortgage? How are you going to pay your... Not to worry. I haven't had a job in 40 years. I wouldn't even know how to have a job. I said to my husband, you know, I should just retire and go get a little job down at the grocery store or somewhere. He said, that wouldn't work, Lori. I said, why not? He said, because in 2 days you'd have the whole thing reconfigured and this person would be doing that and you'd be, you know, leadership, right? You see what I'm saying? So in wrapping up and in closing, we are born, it is in our DNA to be worthy and deserving, regardless of who we are, where we live, what is our background. We deserve that. And there are behaviors that show up to indicate that we don't have any. By the time we finished high school, pretty much any of our self-worth that we did have has been wiped out. And then we go looking for it outside of ourselves. So we think maybe education will do it, money will do it, fame will do it. Another baby, a renovated kitchen, a new vehicle, be a superstar. We go outside of ourselves trying to fill that hole. And I figured out ways to repair and restore our self-worth pretty quickly. Because that's the bottom line for everything. It determines what you do for a career, who you marry, what your financial picture looks like, how you feel about yourself, how you relate to other people. And we cannot give to other people what we do not have in place for ourselves. Because I have parents who call me up, they want me to work with their children. And I go, don't work with the children unless I work with the parent at the same time. Because you cannot pass on to your children what you do not have in place for yourself. So I think our goal here, I would like to see it, I know it, I don't think it, is to have that IQ and EQ perfectly balanced. Perfectly balanced. And when that's perfectly balanced, we become unstoppable. Thank you for listening. My gift today is I have a movie that I was in a few years back called The Gratitude Experiment, and a self-directed binder journal that goes with the movie. And that's my gift to someone today. I may not have had, I've been away working. I may not have put it on the link, Saskia. So my apologies for that. But thank you everyone for listening, and enjoy the rest of our day together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lori. That was just powerful, and really did put a lot of spin on things in terms of different spin on things around self-worth and self-compassion, and how, you know, that actually helps you cope with criticism and feedback. A few things struck really heavily with me was, I think the first one was around, you know, love yourself and show compassion to yourself when things fall apart. We weren't taught that. And that, I definitely see that in my life as well, you know, and the impact that has made. So thank you for really, really highlighting that. And material things don't fill the hole. And there are a lot of people, you know, walking around with that belief every day. They don't fill the hole when you're lacking self-worth. And one other item here, it's healthy. It's healthy to be childlike and not childish. I won't forget that. So emotional maturity with chronological aging is key. It's key for that balanced life. And I do love the fact that you highlighted that we can have that balance of EQ and IQ. When that works together all beautifully, then it's amazing in terms of the person that shows up every day for their families and for everyone else. So thank you so much for that holistic view of self-compassion, working on that and working on that self-worth. It's the beginning of everything, and it is the beginning of resilience. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Joy Ruffin. Ms. Joy Ruffin is going to be talking about how to manage and master emotions with resiliency. Just exactly what we want to hear now. Thank you, Joy. Joy, please take the stage. It's so great to have you here. Good to see you.
Take the stage. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is an honor to be here. I am so apologetic that I had to miss yesterday because I came in here today and I started with Julie and then Dr. Lori, and I'm telling you, I'm already filled up completely, and I'm happy to be a part of this. I bow to you, Saskia, because this is absolutely fabulous and so needed, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I am Joy Ruffin, and my work is as a leadership and style consultant, a signature style specialist, speaker, executive producer, TV host, and podcaster, and it's all connected. And I'm honored to take the stage today and share with you how to master and manage emotions with resiliency. And someone mentioned, I think it was Julie, and I think Dr. Lori as well, fun. Well, let's have some fun, because I want to make it interactive too. Because when we get to talking about emotions, it can be kind of a serious thing. And I want you to just buckle up and sit back and take it all in. And I'm going to start off here and share something with you. And I want you to take this to heart and soul. I love Dr. Lori said, heart. Let's connect that heart with the soul, because that's where we all have to be and connect. Here's a quote. And I want to start with this because this is a seed of what I'm going to be sharing with each and every one of you. As more and more artificial intelligence is entering into the world, more and more emotional intelligence must enter into leadership. Half of the people who say these wonderful quotes that I love, I can't pronounce their names. My friends, I have a lot of learning disabilities and pronunciation is one of them. But I think it was Amit Ray, A-M-I-T-R-A Way. That was a beautiful quote, and I thought it was quite fitting. And I want to start off with a little bit of EQ and IQ. Let's make a song out of that, and let's have a little dance. EQ, IQ, UQ, we're all Q. I love what Dr. Lori said about let's balance the two of them, because balance is a key word when we start to talk about emotions. What a brilliant way to open this up about our artificial intelligence, AI, which is scaring the bejesus out of some people. And some people are, woo, yippee, all right, let's go. It's all contingent upon you and what you feel and what you think. But let's not be fearful, but let's be mindful, because friends, we have to learn to master and manage and elevate our emotions to the highest vibration. In some ways, for me, it's been about being a wordsmith, and there's a lot of verbiage and rhetoric and jargon out here about emotions, and everybody spoke to it, the three people that I heard speaking in different ways. But the reality is emotions are key. And everyone spoke to it in different ways, but one of my friends said to me some time ago, and this stuck in my craw, which is my noodle, my brain, whatever verbiage you choose to use. A lot of us, you, me, all of us here, we grow old as we grow up, but we never truly grow up and step into our wisdom, our knowledge, our knowing. Knowledge is not information, and information is not just knowledge. Knowledge is knowing and stepping into all the things that Julie and Dr. Lori, these are the two speakers that I heard shared with us. It's about getting into the heart and soul of knowing who you are and managing, not controlling, not controlling. Semantics of words, you have to get to the semantics of the word. Manage your emotions. And listen, I know there are guys here, but applies especially to us women, especially. And I love what Dr. Lori said about critical or criticize. I'm in the same camp with you. We must have went to the same girls' school, because I'm telling you, no one wants to be criticized. Feedback, when it's delivered in the right way, can be extremely powerful. Because the first tip is that we, all of us, have to be honest with ourselves. Honesty has always been the best policy. I talk about truth, love, and beauty all the time because they're all aligned and they're all connected. And when you're honest with yourself, you have to want more, better, the best. You don't settle, you don't compromise. And the best tip to give you about how you can elevate and value and utilize your emotions in the best way, breathe. When somebody says something to you and you don't like it, or it doesn't jive or align with what you think and how you feel, before you respond, take a breath, smile. Don't brown nose in a way that's not complimentary ever, but just kind of say, and think about it for a second. And if you can't respond with something that's going to be impactful and make a positive imprint, then hold your water, just hold on, because it's not going to serve you and it's not going to serve them. One of the best lessons that I learned a long time ago as a young girl, I'm a happy senior now and happy to be still growing, still evolving, still on the journey, learning. But one of the things that I learned is that you can never close a door because you never know when you might have to walk through it. So have your grace and dignity always aligned with you and be civil and complimentary without hurting or harming the people that you're walking away from, because that's not going to serve you or them, because you never know when somebody that you think is not going to be in your camp and on your side will be at a point where you reach and you're climbing to down the road that you have to step into their circle. Honesty is the best policy. And here's something else that goes with that. The best tip that I can share with you. People who have the highest amount, I don't know if there's such a thing as the highest amount, people who have integrity, people who have their own moral compass, people who have their own internal GPS. I want you to be thinking about this. And I want you to put in the chat what you think that internal GPS might be, because we all have it. I think something that no thinking involved here, what Dr. Lori said was true for me as a young girl with all of my learning disabilities. I didn't want to be the pretty little stupid girl sitting in the back. And words that I loathe, and even today I have to shudder when people say stupid and dumb and retarded. I go like this because I know what that feels like somewhat. But I always knew. How many of you always knew, no matter what label was put on you, that there was something special and unique about you that you had to learn to master? But first you have to find it and discover it. But how many of you really knew that you had that X factor? Something in you was meant to blossom and birth so that you could share with other people. Whatever that was, put that in the chat, because we all have it. We all have it. And we need to heed that feeling of being self-conscious, because that's telling us whenever you walk into an environment or a circle or a group or a meeting and you get that uneasy kind, which I used to get all the time, feeling that something isn't right and you keep pulling and then it's not what's there, it's you. So how honest with yourself are you about needing more love, more direction, and more guidance? And when I talk about leadership, my friends, and emotional intelligence and the resilience to bounce with it, I'm talking about, first off, we You, me, all of us. We have to learn how to lead ourselves. Can't lead anybody else until you know who you are and you're able to lead and know with certainty. Oh, it's a journey. You're always on the journey. You make boo-boos and mistakes all the time, but embrace them and take the lesson that they give you, because you are there to be all that you're here to be. When I see women, especially because I work predominantly with women who've just resigned to giving up and they say, okay, and it's all right. No, it's never all right and okay. That's mediocrity. If you're in leadership, we can't settle there. It doesn't mean that you have to look like you stepped off the red carpet every time it's 24/7 or off the runway, but you need to take pride and find the balance in everything about you. Your communication skills, your leadership skills, how you love and receive and could relate to other people. There's a saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. Have you heard it? I bet you have. Know that balance is required, as we were told sometime earlier. Balancing EQ and IQ, well, it's a journey. It's a journey, but it's like getting to that wisdom and that peace where when you love you, you have that same love and value and appreciation for others. There's no copy, competing, and comparing, because you see and you applaud and celebrate whatever you see that they have that you don't have, but you keep building what you have, birthing and blossoming what's within you. Look to the other and applaud and celebrate them and commend them. They have something you don't have. That's why we need each other. And never, ever forget, my friends, that we are one. And you are the pilot of your ship, the captain of your ship. And it all starts with you, whatever we all step out to do. And if you're feeling self-conscious and you're feeling something is missing, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's one of the biggest factors for most of us until we began to evolve, is to be able to ask for help. That's the best tip I can give you, because and be mindful of who you're asking. As a young girl with all my learning disabilities, I became and still am a keen observer. I heard one of my friends say to me recently, I read people. No, I don't read people. I don't even like that expression. And I said that to her lovingly, I hope, but I do see people. I see people and I feel people and I know people. That's one of my many gifts. And by the way, all of us come with more than one gift. We have a lot of gifts. And our assignment is to master them, to manage them. So when you see people, you see the good, the bad, and the so-so. And no matter what type of leadership you're in, your assignment is to support them in developing more of the so-so and to the best of the best of the best. Sometimes they're not ready, sometimes they don't want to know, but that's not your assignment. Your assignment is when they're ready and they come, and you've done all that you can do to support them in that endeavor. It all begins, my friends, with how you master and manage your emotions. It begins with mastering and managing you, me. Giving out to others what you don't have yourself ultimately will take you under and down, ultimately. And let me share with you something else. Don't put people on pedestals. They're rocky, they're shaky. Leave them where they are, love them where they are, embrace them where they are. Don't put them on a pedestal, because we're all human. We're all one. We're all connected. We're just at different levels. But be mindful of putting people on a pedestal. When this expression came out about being an expert and being an influencer, I said, yippee, that's great. And then I thought about it and I said, I don't know. It's okay, but so many are using those titles and they're not ready and they're not there. That's okay. That's part of their journey. But part of your journey is to get to know who you are and to love every bit of you. Every teeny, tiny, large, huge, small, every bit of you. And when you begin that, and it's a journey, you won't just wake up and all of a sudden, boom. It's like you look in the mirror and you say, who the heck is that? That'll happen, but be in the process. I love that expression. Please take it home with you. Be in the process of acquiring what's going to give you the tools, the nuggets, and the ammunition that you need to be the best of you. Know thyself. Embrace change, time, and your energy, which is all one and the same. Learn to navigate with and through them. And even when you feel that is not the best lesson that you've been given or the assignment that you've taken on for whatever the reasons might be, or something that you've encountered, breathe and then sit back and think about it, because it gave you something. It gave you or it took away. And whatever it was needed. And that means that you are growing, you are blossoming, you are evolving into who you're here to be. You need to be able to really evaluate and take hold of your emotions. And the best tip I can give you is just to be able to, when something happens, sometimes I get, here's a good example. Sometimes I get an email or a text message and I say, whoo, it's not complimentary and it's not well delivered. And then I'm saying, before I respond, let me kind of let it settle for a day or two. I like to give things, if I'm not pleased with it, at least 24 hours, and then I respond. Because then the young uns today, as they say back in my day when I was a young un, the older people would say, oh, those young uns, you know. But now that I'm a happy senior, I can say that. I say, oh, I've chilled. Now I can express what I want to say. When people approach you and they say things that you don't like and you're not fond of and you don't think it's in your wheelhouse, let it go. Because everyone, as far as their higher authority, their supreme being, their God source, whatever verbiage you choose to use, it's going to be different for everyone. And the people who are very, very religious and into God, and those who are in the spiritual and the Buddha and the Judaism and all the others, don't knock where they're at. Learn from them, because everybody has something they can share. And don't think that whatever you have is the best of the best. For you, it might be, but maybe it's not for someone else. So learn to be mindful of how you embrace, approach, and connect and relate and communicate to others. And this was one of the hardest lessons for me because of all of my insecurities, having to be right. No, you don't. You don't have to be right. As my friend said to me the other day, and I loved her, I fall in love quite easily, by the way, but she said to me, Joy, I stopped saying to people, you ought to do this, or you have to do this, or you should to do this. She said, now I say, you're invited to look into this. Don't you love that? You can say it in so many ways. How you communicate and the language that you use, language is still important, even though it's scaled down, but it's still important. So rather than say, you ought to go and do this because this will be good for you, say, you know what, you're invited. This is a great opportunity. Take advantage of it if you can. Doesn't that sound better? How we string our words together and how we emote them out, the tone, the pitch, the variety that we use, it matters. So begin to be more mindful about how you express whatever it is about you. Still at this stage in my life, being this happy senior, I sit back most of the time. I don't have to go waving and be the first one up and the first one to speak and everything. I like to observe. I like not to be judgmental or to be critical, because then I get to feel for what's needed and what's required, and then I come in, hopefully with the right, whatever it might be. So my friends, the time goes, it goes quickly. I say this all the time. I'm leaving you as I always do, and it's from my heart to your heart with much, much love. Embrace it, embody it. It's authentic. Remember that buzzword? And know that you are here to be the leader of you first, and then to be able to empower others to enable themselves with your message, your love, your wisdom, and your guidance. Change, time, and energy are our best friends. Let's learn to balance and manage them. And I thank you for this opportunity. I'm so honored to be a part of this platform. I release the stage to you. Thank you again.
Wow, that was just awesome. Thank you so much, Joy, for that authentic message. Felt that, on mastering emotions with resiliency. So I did really like the fact that you encourage us to really connect with our heart and soul, and the fact that emotions really are key. We need to remember that, right? That we may not even be grew up as we grow up. We never really grew up in knowledge, right? So that's one that really did stick well with me. So another thing really for for the audience today and the panelists is we are to be honest with ourselves, really, and not be focused on comparison. And we all find ourselves doing that from time to time. So just to use this as a reminder, today is a reminder that you are not or we invite you, we invite you to not do that in keeping up with the wisdom from Joy here. So thank you so much. It's just amazing. Again, our language is a key in our communications, in our relationship building. You can say something and it's just the tonality in which you say it and everything, and emotions and all that reflect how it's actually received. So I want to thank you for pointing that out so eloquently. And it's just beautiful. So thank you again, Joy. I really appreciate all that input as we move along here. So let's see here. Wow. So I think at this time, we probably have a few minutes to open up for any commentary from the audience on the panelists before we do move on to Dr. Robbie Motter. So hands, anyone?
Dr. Lori, go ahead and unmute yourself.
When Joy was speaking, it triggered something, Joy. I used to say to myself, how did a smart woman like me, so that's the intellect talking, right? How did a smart woman like me get into a situation like this? 2 failed marriages, right? Well, my first husband passed away, but what I'm saying is, how did a smart woman like me get into a situation like this, which was usually an unhealthy romantic relationship or business relationship, because I made big mistakes trusting wrong people. So how did a smart woman like me? Well, because it wasn't about being smart. It was about being emotionally immature. You see, that was my emotional quotient that failed me, not my intellect. So you just reminded me of that. So thank you.
And a lesson you had to learn. Thank you for that. It was a lesson. Yes.
That was a very brilliant example. Thank you so much, Dr. Lori, for that. Received. All right. Anyone else?
Yes, I have an attendee, Darren.
Darren,
welcome back to
great to welcome. Want to hear from you.
Hi everyone. Yes, I'm back. I've been tuned in, but I'm here spending the day at work, not actually working, of course, but educating myself and taking in all this brain food. Wow. Okay, where do I start? I want to go back as far as Miss Julie Jones. I think that's why I kind of caught everything up with, and I am really impressed at the different ways to say no. And I always had this thing, and just FYI for everyone that's listening right now, I'm currently taking a certification in trauma and resilience, and I am engulfing all of this education like no other. I've been studying since the top of the year. Every day I live and breathe trauma. Okay, and it feels good to feel reassured by everyone that spoke today. And Miss Julie Jones about saying no. I have a brother that so many times that I've explained to him so many different ways to say no. And because of my experiences, I've realized that sometimes I get into like hostile conversations where it can become pretty toxic for the other person and myself. But, I'm very aware of myself and know when I'm getting into that mood. And I have an exit strategy that I use where I usually say, hey, I never really saw it from that perspective before. Thank you for letting me know, and then kind of end the conversation there. And that's like an exit conversation for me. Dr. Lori, man, when you said, how do you love yourself? That resonated with me because when I started my healing journey in 2015, it was so many things that I did not know how to do as it pertained to myself with understanding like emotions and what I needed as far as self-care and as far as lowering my arousal level. And throughout the last 7 years or so, I've learned how to love myself. And because of that, I can see the difference in my job performance as far as, I'm a case manager of a 226 bed facility. And, it just goes back into showing that it's not necessarily the intelligence part. EQ plays the biggest part in my job because everyone comes in so dysregulated and so aroused on a daily basis. It wouldn't matter how good I am at my job, but what matters is that how I make them feel about their concern. And I've really learned how to deal with that. And Miss Joy Ruffin, whew, let me tell you, I have this saying that I always say, like, I grew up, I'm from New York City, guys. I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago and moved to New York City. And, it's pretty rough when you grow up in the inner city. And then I went to school in Baltimore City where it gets really rough. And I've always learned that through all of my adversity that, I could lie to everyone else, but when I lied to myself, that's when it became damaging, and I have to say it now. And I have a twin brother. I always tell him this. I said, man, I don't care what you tell me. You can lie to everybody in this room. But the moment you start lying to yourself, that's where the problems and concerns come into play. And I see that, integrity is definitely needed because I too have an internal GPS. And it's like Colleen said yesterday about like your mini me and wanting more for yourself and better for yourself. I call that inner voice. Dr. Lori, I think, mentioned it, her little guy. I call it my mini me. And me and my mini me, we go at it back and forth quite often. But he knows what I want. And sometimes he tries to prevent me from getting there. But that's okay. I know that's because of my, my traumas and adversity, my experience in the past and trying to make a change or a transition. But, I understand the importance of wanting more for yourself and the understanding of putting yourself on a platform so that I just want to do better for myself. I don't care what anybody else got going on, but I just want to be able to do better for myself. So I wanted to thank you, ladies, and thank you, Saskia, for this. Man, it has been an amazing 2 days as far as learning, as far as getting all this brain food. And I thank all of the panelists and the presenters for all the information that you guys are giving to me and starting my journey in trauma and resiliency and wellness care. And I hope too one day to impact my community. And I guess, I don't want to speak too soon, but I am sure I'm going to be in a position to one day be a part of a panel with some of you ladies and gents. So that'll be exciting to look forward to. And thank you all for all this great information.
Of course. Thank you for that powerful share, Darren. Great insights all around. And of course, yes, you're right. We have some amazing speakers here today, all subject matter experts in different areas, but they're, in terms of EQ, it's all dialed in and they practice this every single day and they've walked the walk. They're not just talking it. So thank you for highlighting that. And we're so glad that you have all these nuggets that you're able to take away, not only Darren, but everybody else who's joined us today and who joined us yesterday. We're having fun here, learning so much. There's so much to learn. It's really, learning is how we heal, and learning is how we equip ourselves or empower ourselves. And that's what we're doing right now. It's so very nourishing, just like what Darren said. So thank you. Thank you for being part of that experience.
Susie, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to comment on Joy's presentation. Sometimes we think that we have to be above others, or maybe others are above us, and we have this, weird dynamic going on in our mind. But what I loved about what I got from Joy's message, she was holding herself in high value while not being judgmental of others. And I think that is an awesome place to be, where I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, because we're all on the journey, as she pointed out, but knowing that you have value for yourself and holding out the judgment on anyone else that's in a different place on their journey. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Know thyself. Always remember that. Those are the ringing words from the famous Joy Roofing. So I believe we have, is there any more, any attendee or panelist who wants to ask a question? If not, we'll just move ahead with the agenda.
I believe we've taken care of everybody for now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Glad to hear that you're taken care of. So the next person on the agenda is none other than Honorable Lady M, Dr. Robbie Motter. And Dr. Robbie will be talking about, and listen everyone, it's all about showing up, and the power is in the asking. Interesting topic. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Robbie. Great to have you here.
I am thrilled to be here, and I'm so sorry I missed yesterday, but I had to show up and take care of an event for seniors, and it was wonderful because they ended up learning some wonderful things. I'm all about spreading the word of showing up and asking. I am the CEO founder of the Global Society for Female Entrepreneurs, a 501c3 nonprofit that is global. Prior to which I formed in 2017. Prior to that, I spent 39 years as a volunteer global coordinator for NAFE, the National Association of Female Executives. And I have always been on a learning journey. I started my career at age 14. I grew up in many, many foster homes. So I've always been about learning. And why I really started on the show up and asking is back in the 50s, late 50s, I was working in Omaha, Nebraska, and I asked this woman to teach me something. And she looked at me and she said, I will never teach you or any woman. And that just blew me away, because I know one thing: we do not compete, we complete each other. We cannot have all the business in the world, even if we're doing the same thing, because people buy or do business with people they trust and have built a relationship with. Back in I would spend 25 years in corporate America before becoming an entrepreneur in 1985. And I saw a lot of that. People they thought that if you were learning something, you were going to take their job. But that's not the question. The question is, we need knowledge, no matter how old we are. And I believe that showing up and asking are two of the most powerful words that we can use. Even on the good days, you feel like you don't want to show up. I have found that has happened to me, but I've found that when I show up, oh my God, I've met somebody I was hoping to meet, or maybe one of my members asked me, did I know someone? And at that point I didn't, or maybe one of my members would come, I'm looking for a job. Then I show up someplace and then somebody says, oh, do you know anybody that would like to work in this field? And that has happened over and over and over again. I recently showed up at an event where I met an immigration attorney. The next day, 3 of my members called me, and she was actually an immigration attorney from another country who really had to struggle, because when she came to America, her license wasn't good. So she had to learn again, and she failed the bar 5 times, but she never gave up. And coming from the other side, she understands the issues people coming in from another country have. So I was able to, I said, oh, by the way, I just met someone. So you just never know. I'm not a real fond person of red carpets, but I go. A lot of the times I'm a judge for something, but every time I go, I meet someone. It might be a talent that's performing that I can then bring in to one of the events that I'm doing. I think I've heard every excuse in the world. In fact, I put together a thing of all the excuses I've heard about showing up on this beautiful blue thing, and I give it out at meetings. because there is no reason. Everybody has a business. So you have a marketing plan, you have a business plan, but do you have a show up plan? You need to know maybe where are your best customers showing up. That may be an indication of where you should show up. Other people may be doing this, have the same customers you need, and yet you're not in competition with each other. Do a collaboration with them. That always works. I do collaborations all the time. Another thing that I've learned in the last 3 years, many of us are doing social media. I look at social media a whole different way. I look at it as opportunities. And let me just share some things with you. 3 years ago, there was a woman, her name is Ada Gardaman from London, who came on and she was doing an award. She inspires me. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have so many magnificent members that inspires so many people. So I started communicating with her. So I have some members I would love to nominate, because one thing I've learned, it's never about me. It's about the people that we can put together and help to soar to greater heights than they've ever imagined. And when we do that, the joy that comes to our hearts are so wonderful. I have a gift that I listen to my members and I see things in them that sometimes they don't even see. And that way, and because many times, many of them go, but how did you know I could do that? I just knew. And I'm their cheerleader because that's the mission that I was given, and the mission that I love, and the mission that I will continue to do until my last breath. But so she and I became friends. She invited me to come to London. I had never been to London. And I showed up, I stayed with her. So it wasn't like I was a tourist. And there were 4 galas going on while I was there. And I learned about every gala has a different color. And it's so funny because now my members will ask me, is there a color for this event we're doing? Because I have been able to introduce them to people in London as well. But through her, I met many other people. And from that very showing up at the Vietnam event and the gala for Lonely Ladies of All Nations and all of it, I met some of the most wonderful people. And one of the women in London introduced me to Dr. Peterson, who runs the GIA, Global International, and they give honorary humanitarian doctorate degrees. All of us do work because it's our passion. We don't really care about the awards, but it is a wonderful feeling when we can be honored for the work we're doing and that we love. So that opened the door for me for many things. Many of Loni was doing many things online, and I have a lot of talented women. So I was able to offer them, invite them to say, how would you like to be a part of this? Which we need to stop thinking locally. We need to think globally. If we have a business we can do anywhere, then we need to do it everywhere. And we need to let people know what we're doing. And I believe that showing up helps to build your brand, helps to build your expertise, but also helps you to learn. So that started happening and opportunities would come my way. But from those opportunities, I've been able to open it up to other opportunities. I took 27 people to London who were able to get their honorary doctorate humanitarian degrees because they've done wonderful work in their lifetime to serve their communities and serve others. In addition, one of the other ladies I met opened the door for these same women to go to Parliament and to get the I Am Superwoman Award at Parliament. There are many people that live in London that never get to Parliament. And, you have to cultivate these relationships. You have to be there for them. It's not about you. It's about what you do for others. So over the period of years, last year, I took 39 women to Atlanta, and they got their degrees. Now this year, I've been honored to become a chaplain for AIG, which is probably a title I never thought I would get, and I had to think about it. But then I thought I really am a chaplain in many ways because I'm there to spearhead the talent in the women that are my members that I see, that I know they have. Everybody's got a book in them. And so first off, on the humanitarian, I've been given the honor to be able to do the awards in California next year on April 20th, and it'll be done in Menifee, California. And we're also doing them in Maryland on May 18th. And that will be helpful to my New York, Philadelphia, and Maryland GSFE networks. They won't have to get on a plane and they won't have to spend a lot of money. I'm all about saving my members money while they're learning and getting things that they need to do. Getting their talents out there, letting people know about that, because everybody has a talent. Everybody needs to write a book. I have heard so many stories. I don't write. I don't do this. Oh, I can't. I have no story to tell. Yet in the last year and a half, GSFE has helped 182 women either be in a book or write their own book. And what is amazing from that is some of those that did chapters are now on their third and fourth books. So see, nothing is impossible. And what we have to learn, every story needs to be told. And many times in some of the stories that they've been in and opportunities that we've been able to open for them and to invite them to, they've been able to share things that they've never told to anyone. So it becomes a healing process. I believe everybody needs a book. And I think if you start it in a chapter, usually the chapters are 2,500 words and you get to tell your story in your own words. You get to have your picture and your contact information and a short bio. After that's done, you no longer have a fear of writing. You have, oh my God, why did I fear this? It is not that difficult. Even I've been in over 40 book chapters, but I had never written my own book. So about in March of 2022, I said on March 8th, International Women's Day, which is also my birthday, I said I would write my book. And I came up with a title about achieve. And at least a week before, I had not written anything. But I knew that I had made the commitment. I had told my members I was going to do that. So in 2 days, I wrote the whole book and the book was published on that day. So your commitment of what you say you're going to do is very important. That also is part of showing up. You say you're going to be somewhere, don't call at the last minute and cancel your appointment, because that's not right. It's not, you're not being true to yourself. If you want to do something and be true to yourself, be who you are. Don't try to be someone else. Also, I found out that people have a hard time asking. ASK is the most powerful word, I think, and it can save you so much time. There may be people you want to meet, places you want to go, opportunities you're looking for. You need to put it in the universe and wait. It's going to happen. I want to give you an example also of one of my members. I invited her to be in a chapter, and she said, oh, I believe it should be all of this and other. And I said, no, you're very worthy. Look what you've done. You've taught special needs. You've done this and you've done that. And she looked and she said, I never looked at that. I never looked at the things that I've done. And once she did it and saw her name in print, it was like a transformation of this woman. All of a sudden you saw her dressing and being more assertive and being more out there, because she suddenly realized that she was a person. So, if you haven't written a book, I'd love you to make a commitment. And one of the things that always worked for me is to have a chapter, to have my book in my cover done, because then I'm looking at it every day, and to also set a date for that book to be published. We have incredible people within our organization that can publish the book that aren't about charging an arm and a leg. They're about getting that book out, or opportunities from some of our members doing books that you could be in a chapter of. In fact, we've done volume 1 and volume 2 of It's All About Showing Up. And both books, the first book, we had 46 co-authors, and the last book, which was published March 8th this year, we had 64. I am going to do the book again next year. And because everybody's got more stories to share. They're stepping out more. They're telling their stories. They're not afraid to ask. I had a hard time asking. It was really hard for me. I grew up in foster homes. I never had anybody teach me. Everything for me has been learning everywhere that I go. And my last corporate job in Washington, D.C., I had 800 people reporting to me. So I made it up the corporate ladder. But I learned everything I need to learn. I either read a book or I asked people to help me. But I had a hard time asking directly for me. was always out there asking for others. So one day somebody said to me, this was back when we were part of NAFI, said, Robbie, you're always asking us to ask. Why don't you ever ask? And I said, okay, I want a white multi-poodle dog or Maltese, small, spaded white. And I put it out there. 3 days later, one of my members called me and said, Robbie, I have that dog. I'm going through a divorce and that dog is yours. And her name was Majesty. And I had her for over 14 years. So that taught me to anything I need now, I ask. And I've learned another word. If they say no, I say, why not? Because sometimes they just don't think it through. And like a good example, I was at another event in San Diego, and there was a gentleman there from a winery in the northern San Diego area. My son, who is a senior VP during the day, also plays music. So I asked him, do you ever bring music to your winery event? And he said, oh, yes, all the time. He gave me his personal card, told me to have my son. I told him a little bit about what my son did, that he played several places. He said, have him call me. On the way home, I called my son, told him to call him. My son sent him a video. That was a Wednesday. The following Thursday, my son was playing at this location and now is booked there 2 Thursdays every month and a Sunday. And in addition, my Oceanside network loved the place so much, they've decided to move their network meeting there. So you never know what's going to happen. You know, we are all about helping each other. And if not, we should be. We should be about kindness. We should be about showing up. And we should be about asking. That should be part of our life. And it could be asking something, what is the best beauty shop, you know, because people have experienced it. You don't have to go on the journey by yourself. So, you know, we at GSFE, I spend hours looking for opportunities. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about the social media thing. You read social media, you click like, do it more look at the opportunities. If you're a speaker and somebody is speaking at a conference, that automatically tells me that they bring in speakers to that conference. So I'm sharing that with my members that are speakers. You know, maybe you have an opportunity to be the speaker next time they do an event. If somebody's doing a podcast, I look at the subjects of the podcast guests that they're looking for. I share that with my members. We recently had a member that she actually is a new member. I met her years ago. We were both speakers together. And she contacted me, and she runs a magazine. And she said to me, I would love you to be on the cover of my August magazine and to also be a guest on my show. I was honored. To me, it was honored for me, but I thought of all of my women that could be on her cover, could be on her show. So I immediately shared it out to my members. Now, we can take a horse to water, but we can't make the horse drink the water. So I put out these opportunities, and I can tell you, many of my members grabbed them. And it's just like when we did the book, the first book, I asked a lot more than 46 people. And after the book came out and became the #1 bestseller, they came back and said, oh, I should have done it. I was thinking of doing it. Sometimes we want everything to be so perfect. I believe there is no, only God is perfect, or whoever you believe in. I think we take chances. I think about the word achieve. The first letter of achieve is A, action. We must take action. If you're going to write a book, like when we did the second version, I remember one of my members, she said, oh, I don't have anything to write about showing up. Well, I've known her 14 years. I've seen her show up here and there. And I'd say, well, what about when you showed up here? What about here? She said, oh my God, I forgot about all that. And we did her story, although it was hard for her because she'd never written it. And I think she was cussing me out every night. But when the book was published, we made #1 US and international bestseller. And it was a book about her family and her grandkids. She was so elated that she even brought all her grandkids to the book signing. So, nothing is impossible. We make it I think somebody said, we know what we should do from our intuition, but we take it up to our head and we analyze it. Stop analyzing. Take steps. You can always step back and readjust. But if you never take those steps, you're never going to know if you can accomplish anything or not. I remember when COVID came, and it was a really bad thing, but for GSFE, it was a good thing because we learned about the word Zoom, which we never knew. Many of us didn't know. Luckily, we had a few women that were very knowledgeable on it, and they taught us, and we listened and we learned. And because of that, we became global. And it opened so many more doors for I'm all about my members soaring. And it's my greatest pleasure to see them take a step and go. And I want to be there to always congratulate them and tell them how wonderful they are. And nothing is impossible. And do not let anything stand in their way. And there is no impossible. There is no idea that is a bad idea. It is about timing. And so to me, that's the message. It's all about showing up, and the power is in the asking, because showing up is like a treasure map. You never know what treasure you're going to find. And today, just being on this call, we have all found fabulous treasures. There's always days, every day we can learn something. I'm 87 and I'm learning something every day, especially now that we're going to AI. I remember making the comment, oh, we're entrepreneurs and we don't use AI yet. And somebody said to me, do you talk to Siri? Yeah, well, that's AI. And now they've even made it easier that if you want to write a book, you can use AI by putting keywords in, and it can help you write your chapter. I mean, I prefer to write it from my heart. The same thing with speaking. I think with speaking from your heart, I've been on stages as big as 10,000 people. And I think when you speak from your heart, people feel it. If you have something so canned, they're paying attention to the overhead, or they're not really feeling you. And you want them to feel you because you are that imaginative, beautiful individual, no matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is, because I believe your past has nothing to do with your future. As I said, I grew up in a lot of foster homes. I had a mother that didn't want me. I never knew my dad. And yet when my mother got sick, I quit a $185,000 job in DC to come to California to take care of her. And even my kids said to me, why would you do that? She was never a mother and never a grandmother. But I said, but she was my mother. And I never regretted it. We started having a better relationship. But my mother never had any other children. And she'd married 5 times. And the man that was her husband at that time, I had never met. but I came to help him because it was a big job. And then after she died, I took care of him until he passed away. And he was probably the closest thing I ever had to a father. So one thing I want to leave with you, stop making excuses. Look at where you are planning to show up. Think about who might be there. Not necessarily thinking, oh, every place you go, you have to give out your business card and they have to buy from you. Remember, it's about listening. What can you do for them? And what can you learn? Because from all that, you're going to grow and business is going to come to you because you've taken the time to learn, to build relationships. It's not like in the olden days. I took sales trainings from some of the best, Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins. And in those days, it was do not leave until you have the sale. Those days are gone. Today, it's build the relationship. If you say you're going to show up, show up. Your word is your bond. It's all about your integrity. So as I close, I leave you with this. Keep showing up, keep asking, and watch the wonderful things that will open up for you. And think globally, because the world is your oyster. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robbie, for that magnificent message. Where do I start? Highly commendable. I just want to say that you're so inspiring. And thank you for being a true ambassador in terms of inspiring women to be their very best. And I'm sure others too, men as well, I'm sure you've connected along the way. I just really, from the bottom of my heart, and that includes me, I am a recipient of that. I would like to thank you for your leadership and for your heart posture in leading in such an outstanding way. So many lives you're impacting just because of the attitude that you have, and that's, servant leadership, putting others before yourself. And I can tell you, you will see, so much dividend coming out of that, and the lives transformed every day, and the empowerment in so many people, empower people to do books and magazine. I am so honored to be a Global Society Female Entrepreneurs member. And I just want to tell everyone under your amazing leadership, I want to tell everyone that because I leveraged my engagement superpower, right, I was able to invite amazing leaders like Dr. Robbie here to just impart so much wisdom in you, because again, it's the power in the asking. They don't have to say, oh, yes, we'll do it. They could have said no, but I was willing and I took that risk, and look at how that risk paid off today. Such brilliance in the room. And most importantly, people who are moved by their hearts to help others. And that's what BreakThru is. BreakThru was birthed because of the need to help hurting people. Give them the healing tools, give them the empowerment tools to be better leaders, and most importantly, to have compassion for themselves, because if they don't heal, there's nothing, none of this can be done. So I really want to thank you. I want to thank you and the other speakers here. You are such a gift. You're such a gift to this community and beyond. And I hope more people are able to, hear this message and so forth. But I'm just honored. Thank you again.
Alessandra, she would like to ask a question or make a comment. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Great. We'll bring her in. Go ahead, Alessandra.
It's a comment because it's also I am member of the Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs. I meet Robbie when she get a Temecula speech, and she invited me to her association, and I went to many of those as a vendor. But I was feeling anytime I was showing there, I was feeling empowered, more confident on my own needs. Oh, I need to ask, I need to show up. It's a transformation. From the moment I met Robbie, I think I was in my darkest moment, And when I saw her, it comes the light. After the darkest moment comes the light. I am proof of that. Resilience. She said we all can can write a book, and it's true. We don't need to be the most successful people in our field. Each one had a history of fights, of the struggle, of resilience, and that is us. Most of that is normal. That is normal. And the other people have to hear how we went to those struggles, because there are people that is having the same experience and they want to hear from us on how we overcome the struggle with resilience. So we all deserve a book. I grab a book right now, the fashion book with the share fashion that go to the bestseller in Amazon, and I'm ready for my next book with Robbie. God bless you, Robbie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alessandra. So as you can see, the impact, it replicates. And I'm just so happy that we're all part of the experience. And just to hear those words of encouragement, because we definitely need that. And I just want to, if I can, Colleen, just use this opportunity to say that with BreakThru, our free gift, because I didn't mention that earlier, our free gift is a complimentary transformation call with me, where we'll go over strategies in building your resiliency power and really how we can enhance your self-leadership and personal growth, and at the same time have that impact shift in your life. So as you can see, it's so needed. And we need to work on those self-limiting beliefs, because I'm sure, that's evident from the many talks that we've had today, that we have to know thyself, we have to work on thyself. It starts there before we can really move forward into healing and empowerment. I'm just so excited today about all this goodness. Colleen, keep me in control.
All right. You're good, Saskia. That's beautiful. Like Dr. Robbie just explained how important it is to speak from our hearts. Always speak from our hearts. That is my favorite thing I heard today. And I feel every speaker is really doing that. Dr. Lori, would you like to make a comment? Your hand is up. Beautiful.
Thank you for that. Just to ride on the heels of Dr. Robbie, I was one of the beautiful recipients of the award, and that's where the doctor comes from. And I have spent many, many years working in marginalized communities, one of them being the Canadian Indigenous community. And Dr. Robbie, I don't know that you know this, but recently, because of that designation, I was able to become a service provider for Health Canada, which is our federal health services agency, particularly in Indigenous Services Canada. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is not about me, but that accesses me. They have never in their history provided funding for an uninsurable service such as mine. They provided for conventional therapy, counseling, treatment centers, blah, 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 blah. But someone who has an alternative opportunity to heal, they have never funded. So I had a young man here for a month, 30 days. He had had a liver transplant. He's only 28, so it was traumatic. He also had some addictions issues. So he came here to spend 30 days with me for aftercare, and they paid for it. So Robbie, you have no idea perhaps the extension of whose lives you are presently touching. We have 1.8 million Indigenous people in Canada right now, struggling, working on things, projects, everything, and I'm a big part of that. And I have worked on and off reserve for 25 years, so that didn't hurt either. But what I'm telling you, it was a government federal agency who said, yeah, okay, and I'm the first one ever. So thank you.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Robbie, could I also just remind you that I believe you were going to put a link in the chat for your free gift today. And if you could just drop that link in the chat for everyone, then I can copy and paste it with your information. That would be wonderful.
Yes.
I would hate for them to miss out on that
Don't want
opportunity.
to miss that. Don't want to miss that.
Just whenever you have the chance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for that awesome reminder.
Yes.
And Dr. Laurie, that's awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations, and for just impacting lives in such a significant way, healing. That is huge. And we appreciate that very much. Thank you for your leadership. So next, I think we were really next on the agenda to take a break. So maybe we can take a break for until 11, let's see, not 11, it's not 11:44, until 12, no.
No, it'd be 11:50.
11:50, yes. Yes, realize I wasn't seeing correctly. Yes, so until 11:50, and then we'll continue with Mr. Hugo Vasquez.
So that would give them about 5 minutes. Do you want to give everyone maybe 10 minutes to be able to?
Yes, I think we have
preparatory
enough
question?
time.
Perfect.
We have enough time for 10 minutes break. And again, if anybody has to drop, please know that we're very grateful for you today, being here and taking the time out to just join in the goodness and the nuggets that we received today. And I wish you all the best of success in your personal life and your professional life. But please do stay on or come back if you can.
Yes. And before
Bye-bye.
you leave, we are dropping the YouTube link. So this is the YouTube link for the live streamed video today. So any of you that want to go out and watch that might not be able to be on here with us, but want to be able to watch that later, that's available to you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colleen.
Absolutely.
All right, back until 11:55. Well, hello, everyone. I know that we're all making our way back for the rest of this spectacular agenda. I am sure you're having lots of fun and learning so much from today's proceedings and from yesterday's. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. I'm just going to say name. He'll do the introduction brilliantly. Of course, Hugo Valquez. He's going to be presenting the other side of fear, how gratitude, and it's really all about how gratitude and optimism build EQ up. So Hugo, Mr. Hugo, please take the stage. So great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Saskia.
Yes.
I'm excited to talk. I'm excited to talk about this topic, even though I know that it's not a popular topic, something that a lot of us avoid, and that is fear. But I also want to bring it back to gratitude and show you how I used gratitude to help me overcome fear. But first, I want to talk about the baby elephant. You see, there was a baby elephant who was born in a circus. And as soon as that elephant was strong enough to stand on her own, they used a rope to tie one of her feet down to a stake in the ground. Every time that baby elephant tried to walk further than the length of the rope, she was yanked back. She tried to free herself. She tried to pull the rope, but it was no use. And she learned that no matter how hard she tried, she could not free herself from that rope. Years went by, and eventually that elephant wasn't a baby anymore. She was big and she was strong, but she was still tied to that stake in the ground. Now I want to share with you my first day of kindergarten. And I really related to that stake in the ground because I feel like that's the day that that stake was put in the ground and that rope was tied around my leg. See, I did not want to go to kindergarten. I had the idyllic life at home. I lived with my grandma and my grandpa, aunts and uncles came by, and pretty much everyone loved me. But as soon as I entered the first day of kindergarten, I saw what I was terrified for. Everybody looked different than me. And I felt alone because nobody spoke my language. And it was a horrible day. That first day, as soon as my grandma left the classroom, I started bawling uncontrollably. I couldn't help it. And my teacher did the best thing she could do in that moment. She got down to my level and she gave me a big hug. And that hug helped. And I was able to get through that day, but that fear remained. The next day on my way to school, I begged my grandma, please don't make me go to school. But it was no use. So I decided to threaten her. I told her, okay, you're gonna take me to school. It's just gonna be a waste of time because I'm not gonna learn anything anyways. Well, by the end of first grade, it looked like my promises to my grandma were coming true. I still didn't know my ABCs. Fear kept me from asking questions, even when I needed help. And somehow, despite my language barrier and my fear, I somehow managed to stumble my way through elementary school and junior high with C's, D's, and F's. High school was a little bit harder, but I still got to senior year. And my first day of senior year, I remember realizing that I had to pass every single class this year in order to graduate. If I don't do it, I don't graduate. This is terrifying because I had never done that before. But that was enough for me to actually take my education seriously. And I started taking action. I started studying. I started reading the material. I started understanding what I was reading, and I started passing the tests. And by the end of my senior year, I actually had straight A's. And I was feeling confident about my grades until I learned that I had to give an oral presentation in English class. Now, the assignment wasn't that difficult. All I had to do was teach the class. I could teach them anything. But fear took over and I avoided doing any prep work. And on the day of the presentation, finally I decided, okay, I gotta do something. So I came up with this brilliant idea. I was gonna teach the class how to dribble a basketball because that'd be the easiest thing to do. So I get up in front of my class with my basketball in hand. And as soon as I see the students, fear comes up and grabs me by my throat and I'm unable to speak. I'm transported back to that first day of kindergarten when fear first showed its face. And as I'm sitting there paralyzed in front of the class, finally my teacher has the, I guess, mercy to have me sit down, and I'm able to get out of that situation, but fear is still there with me. I get an F on the assignment, but miraculously, I still get straight A's and I'm able to graduate. At work, I realize that I am scared everywhere I go. I avoid taking on any special projects out of fear of failure. And anytime that I do anything wrong, I blame other people out of fear of being wrong. And this type of behavior was really detrimental to my growth in my job because nobody wants to promote somebody who's always arguing or always never taking responsibility and learning and growing. This finally made me confront my fear, and I decided I had to do something. I was tired of fighting, I was tired of running, and I was tired of hiding. And I knew that I had to face fear head on. So I hired a coach, and my coach motivated me to share my content to bigger audiences. I joined Toastmasters and I started speaking in front of audiences every week. I got out of my comfort zone week after week, facing my fear. I even created my own public speaking workshops, helping students escape their comfort zone. I've done 9 cohorts since. I feel like now I'm on the other side of fear. But remember that baby elephant? When she grew strong, she could have easily snapped that rope, but she never tried because she had learned that she could not do it. Fear is the thing that's keeping us stuck to that stake in the ground. If you want to confront your fear, then you have to face that fear head on. You have to look that fear in the eye and you have to go right through that fear because everything that we want is on the other side of fear. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how do I confront this fear? How do I get the courage to look fear in the eye? And the answer is gratitude. Because by embracing gratitude, we can shift our perspective and turn our fears into guides instead of paralyzing barriers. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into the transformative power of gratitude and how it can help you be your guiding light as you walk through those shadows of fear. So gratitude, first of all, has a lot of scientific benefits. We have found that gratitude actually activates the part of our brain associated with our reward center. And it actually helps, as we practice gratitudes, we strengthen those pathways. And when we express that gratitude, when we feel it, we reinforce it, it's easier for us to experience gratitude. And gratitude actually has been shown to increase dopamine levels, which is dopamine is the thing that we're all chasing when we're scrolling Instagram or whatever social media platform you can think of. Gratitude is a lot cheaper on your attention. It also increases your serotonin levels. So having positive thoughts has been found to increase the brain's production of serotonin. And low levels of serotonin has been linked to depression and a lot of other, just things that fear really conjures. Now, gratitude actually counteracts fear. And I always call it the antidote to fear, because fear lives in our amygdala, and the amygdala is they call it the fear center of our brain. And when we're in fear, it bypasses our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that's actually reasoning and seeing, is this fear like reasonable? So when we focus on gratitude, we actually activate the prefrontal cortex. And when it's activated, we can inhibit the activities of the amygdala. So it reduces that fight or flight response. Now, how do you use gratitude in the face of adversity? And here's what I've done. I'm going to tell you what I did. I actually set a goal to be grateful. And what that meant for me is, when I'm setting a goal to be grateful, that means I'm going to be grateful for everything good and everything bad that happens. Every situation has an opportunity for gratitude with that goal. And it wasn't an easy goal, right? Like at first, I didn't know what that would look like. I did research, and of course, there were people who said do gratitude practice, like writing down 3 things you're grateful for in the morning and at night, which is great. These are great things to do. However, when you're in the face of fear, how do you actually do this? Well, one of the things that I like to do is I like to think about what I'm getting out of this situation when I'm facing fear, right? For me, when I was in kindergarten, maybe I didn't have the guidance to see this, but going into my work, the thing that I could look at with my fear is I was able to grow and learn new skills that I can then take onto the next position that I want to grow into. That's something that I could have looked at as something that I'm grateful for. And then for me, just to be upfront with everybody here, every time I have to give a speech, I still feel that same fear of right before kindergarten. So what do? I focus on the gratitude. Before this presentation, I focused on the gratitude to be able to hear everyone else giving their advice before I got to speak, because I took everyone's advice that I heard. And anytime that you're getting ready to go into a situation, if you have the intention of gratitude, you will find something to be grateful for. Now, what I like to do, and the challenge that I will put to the audience, is to have the habit of being grateful. And I do that by reaching out to, I do it to at least 2 people, but my challenge is reach out to at least 1 person every single day. And don't just tell them that you're grateful, tell them what you're grateful for specifically, because sometimes gratitude can feel like platitudes. But when you specifically tell somebody, I'm grateful for you watching my kids so I can go to this event, or I'm grateful for you being there when I had nobody there to help me in the struggles that I went through. When you give those specific reasons, not only does it resonate more with the other person, it resonates more with you, and it activates those centers of your brains even more. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A. One of the things, and just to let you know, what I'm offering is a 30-minute session, but not just general coaching. I believe that we all have goals that we really want to accomplish. And the thing that keeps us from those goals is fear. So I want to know, if you take this challenge on, what your big goal that you're afraid of is, and then we're going to create an action plan for you to actually achieve that goal.
I think that's great. So if someone would like to ask you a question or make a comment,
Yes.
if you could please raise your hand.
Floor is open. Wonderful presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
I know we have more interested persons in raising their hands. Okay, so maybe I can just make a brilliant comment here on the overall presentation. I do love the connection, especially with the kindergarten, experience, and how beautifully you connected fear with gratitude so far. That's amazing. And I just want to say also that I did appreciate the whole biological response system that you did put in there for, like, when you're activating fear and fear is not activated, amygdala and so forth, as a trauma Coach, I do appreciate that. And I see that going a long way in people's minds to not, hold on to fear. And it's a process, right? You're saying you're working on that now as you deliver so eloquently before us, right? So it is a process, and we are all continuous learners, right? That's why we're alive, really, to keep learning until we expire. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for that. So anybody wants to chime in?
We have Susie here. She wanted to make a comment.
Excellent.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Susie.
Yes, I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate Hugo for that insightful demonstration of humility and growth. I've been an educator for my life and specializing in kindergarten, and it just breaks my heart to hear your story of how you were received as such a young child and what it did to you. On the other hand, I want to congratulate you for the enormous growth that you have taken in your life and being an outstanding beacon of a transformation and hope to young people, because we've seen a lot of older, seasoned veterans on the platform, but to see so much growth and light coming from a young person who has elevated himself so much from a humble beginning to a platform where you will be able to impact thousands of people in your life. I just can't say enough for your courage, and thank you so much for taking this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Susie, for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yes, I completely agree wholeheartedly that humility, that's the key denominator in you blossoming and flourishing into that professional, from kindergarten. And thank you so much for inspiring us so well. We all can, attest to that.
Darren is here, and I think he would like to make a comment and ask a question as well. And then we also have Deborah Brown will be next. Go ahead,
Awesome.
Darren.
Hey, what's up, Hugo? I would like to say that I connect with your story, being from Trinidad and Tobago and moving to the USA when I was 12 years old. Believe me, I understand what it's like to walk into a classroom and you are 100% like the odd man out, as far as like being bullied and teased, probably because of your accent, or you don't, you're not familiarized with the new culture or your society and environment. It takes a lot to even come to that recognition. I too am a firm believer in gratitude. I've been in the nursing field, wellness care field for about 10 years or so. And because I've witnessed from going in and out of work in the nursing home to see individuals that are young and have their life completely changed due to some type of unseen disability, I have formed a lot of gratitude for just simply being able to wake up and just move my ligaments, just be able to breathe, sip some water, just the most simplest things I find a lot of gratitude for. And I do believe that gratitude does bring you a lot of successes. I do believe that, from my point of view, where I'm standing, man, and I appreciate to see Dr. Susie just said earlier about the young faces of the younger generation being able to recognize their adversities and traumas and starting the process of the healing. And fear is a big one, man. I was fearful. People, from my background, and let me tell you, a lot of adversity, a lot of traumas, okay? And I was fearful to let go of that identity because of how I thought people would accept it, and when I got to a point of just pretty much understanding that it's quite okay to be this one person and then change completely, and that was okay too. Once I started making the change by simply just, gleaming for energy and educating myself, I realized it's not that scary anymore. And now I can be in the neighborhood with my homeboys and the homegirls, and, I can actually educate them on some decisions that they were making, as far as it doesn't have to be like that, or you don't have to be scared to do what you want to do. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Just do what you like to do. And now they accept me with just being a trauma-informed individual, and they call me, oh, Darren's always so positive. You got the positive light. And when they have problems now, they would call my phone or send me a text message for those purposes. So, fear and gratitude have brought me a long way, but not in the sense of just being fearful, but understanding why I was afraid to do certain things. And that had a lot to do with my traumas and adversity. But, I'm still working through it as I continue my journey, but I can honestly say I'm in a safe spot now, and happy to see another individual and brother that's in the same safe zone as well.
Darren, I see you and I hear you. Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom.
All right, no problem, man. I see you and I hear you too.
Deborah, would you like to go ahead and unmute and speak?
Again, this has been so awesome and mind-shattering, but I just have two questions. What made you, what made you choose gratitude? What made you choose gratitude? And then my other question is, how do you stay consistent? And then I'll mute myself. You can mute me. You can answer that. Thank you.
Saskia, you're going to have to stop me if I go too long, because this is the question. What made
It's
me
the question of the day. You can go ahead and address it, but yeah,
This is the most important question. And I will say, before I even say this, I grew up in a hardcore home where my parents were like higher performers. Like, you got to bust your ass if you're going to, you got to bust your butt if you're going to, you got to work hard. And gratitude was seen as a weakness. So it was to just get over that hump of even thinking about gratitude was a big, I think, I don't know how I did that. That's the part I don't know. But what made me set that goal is I looked at everything that had gotten me to where I was. And I was in a really low point in my life. That's a story for another speech. And I looked at everything that got me there. And I realized it was because everything that got me there were things that I was really being selfish on, getting what I thought I wanted and not feeling that fulfillment. And I look back and I seriously sat down and said, why am I not happy? And it was because I was not fulfilled. And then I said, when have I been happy? And it was literally gratitude. That's, and I said, okay, that's my goal. If that's the answer, then that's the goal. That's what I got to do. So the way I stay consistent is I joined an accountability group. And what we do is every single day, we send gratitude to two people. Well, first is your spouse or significant other. And second is somebody in your community, family. Just send that gratitude every single day. That's the best way to stay consistent.
Excellent. If I may just add this one other thing of clarity, from what I've learned is that you have three voices in decision making, generally fear, intuition, and we have a reason. So for the fear, I've learned that we're not supposed to resist fear, but to welcome it and ask the question, fear, what are you trying to tell me in terms of, safety? What boundaries are you trying to say that I need to erect for my safety? And just embrace fear. And in that way, you'll be able to get over that hump. So thank you for demonstrating that you can operate even with a little bit of fear, with grace, and everything works out beautifully. Thank you, Hugo.
Susie, would you like to ask a question or make a comment before we move on to our next speaker?
No, I just wanted to give kudos to Hugo, and I did that. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So let me go ahead and welcome our final speaker for the day before I give my concluding remarks. And she is Carla Vaughn, and she's going to be presenting Meeting the Challenges of Gratitude and Optimism in Your Profession. And I can't think of a better person to do that. Carla, welcome to the stage. You're the final presenter for the day.
Last but not least, huh?
Certainly not least.
Thank you so much, Saskia and Colleen. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself and what I do, and then I'm going to go into how you really get the benefits and how you overcome and get those challenges when you're talking about your profession, okay? And all the problems we have with it, okay? If you're an entrepreneur like I have been for years, it's huge. If you're working for someone or a company that you're not happy with, that's huge, because then how are you still wanting to be in gratitude and show up with optimism? And I think this is a great segue from what Hugo just did. Because now I get to not just to apply it to he applied it to your life. I'm going to apply it to that job that beats you down every day. Okay. You know, not often are many of us so blessed to get the benefits of getting into the right job at the right time early on and have our whole lives in that job and be terribly happy 75% of the time. That's just not realistic. But before I start, everybody loves stories. Everybody remembers stories, right? You may not remember half the things any of these speakers have said for 2 days, but you are going to remember some of these stories. So I've got one for you, okay? This story is about a farmer who lived in Africa, and he had to walk 10 miles a day to get water from the well. Okay. And he had one of those, long bars. And on the end of each long bar was 2 huge clay pots. Okay. And every day he would walk to the nearest well to fill up these pots full of water. Okay. One of the pots had a crack. He didn't know that until his upteenth, road trip. Let's call it a road trip for sake of a better word. And when it was all said and done, he one day looked down and he's like, wow, I just did not get enough water to the community, to my family like I wanted because of this cracked pot. I have no way to repair it. He walks away. The pot that is not cracked, the perfect pot, looks to the cracked pot and says, I am in awe and gratitude of you. The cracked pot says, I'm the beat up, worn out pot. I've been dripping water for 10 miles a day, every day for weeks and months and years. What are you talking about? And he said, look at the path that you led us to tomorrow morning. So the farmer comes out, he puts the clay pots on his shoulder, and he walks that 10 miles. He walks it and he comes back and puts the pots down. The perfect pot says, I am in awe and gratitude. Do you understand why now? And he said, yes. And he said, look at the path. And down the path had sprung up flowers and bushes and little miniature trees, because it was constantly being watered by the dripping cracks that were in the water pot. Why do I say all that? I say all that because gratitude comes in many forms, but I say also too, no one has to be perfect. And in business, we have this, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's an American notion. I don't know if it's our media that does it, that says we have to be perfect all the time. We always have to be on our job, okay? I run a company called Speaking to Elevate. And under Speaking to Elevate, because I'm an accountant by trade, I talk a lot about financial topics. I talk about accounting. I also run a nonprofit to teach young people about money. And I love being in person in particular to teach the kids in the schools and the churches and all like that. And all that's all nice and wonderful. But what I'm constantly reminded of is that this has been a struggle, okay? Especially for those of you that hopefully I can resonate with that are entrepreneurs, okay? It is a freaking struggle. There was a saying I learned years ago. It said, anyone can be in business, but not everyone can stay in business. 68% of all small businesses they close their door in 10 years or less. And about 32% of that is the first 5 years just trying to be in business. There's so many reasons. Part of that is not just the struggles and all the other things that can make you fail, but they say a lot of times half of it is attitude. Okay. When you have that optimism, you have that passion, you're going to continue to do what you know in your heart and soul you can do, and you can do well. But if you're not constantly serving your customers and clients, then you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. You are not creating a business practice that is coming from gratitude. Okay. I always have said for years, I love all my clients. And there are times people look at me like, right? But it's very, very true. And I always say I love all my clients, because if it's not for the sake that I have clients, I'm not in business. Here's the point of gratitude over and over and over again. So I want to hit on a couple of big points. Okay. So peace of mind on a regular basis can only come from seeing ourselves and others as we truly are. I want you to write this down and put it on your mirror. Peace of mind on a regular basis can only come from seeing ourselves and others as we truly are. Okay? As we truly are. We are all human beings basically having a spiritual existence, and we are constantly faced with mistakes and imperfections with communication and needs. Okay? So the essence of who we are is a spiritual being. So we have to first recognize that that is what I call the golden nugget of being on this planet. But so often we are so layered with the human existence, it is difficult to constantly communicate to our staff, our clients, that we appreciate them. But you can do this very easily. Send a thank you note. Don't do it electronically. There are still stamps and stationery and paper. Write it out. Say, I appreciate you. Send them a gift card, anything to let them know periodically, I think of you as more than just a moneymaker. Okay. These are little things you can do in your practice as a professional. I don't care if you are a salesperson or you have your own business. You may work for a big company, but if you have contact with those that matter in your life to make you happy or to make you fulfilled in your profession, let them know that they're appreciated on a physical level. Just send a thank you note once, twice a year, doesn't matter, okay? Next point, gratitude to acknowledging and blessings received daily and how this impacts our attitude is all about the circumstances that occur daily. I am a Buddhist by practice. Every single day, I sit in my Gohonzon and I chant. Part of what I chant for is peace and prosperity daily, okay? And I also say, well, the only way I'm going to do this is to keep practicing and to have that peace of mind. This is where a lot of professionals, though, sometimes kind of fall off the wagon, because the challenge sometimes is the clients. Anybody ever hear the cliche? I love what I do if it weren't for my clients, right? Well, that's because they can be challenging, to say the least, okay? When you're in a profession that is creating challenges, it's the old, let's make lemonade from the lemons, right? But we don't always know how to do that because we're getting beat down, whether it's the job, whether it's your own business, we're constantly being beat down. So how do you look and acknowledge those blessings on a daily basis? Sometimes you have to do the hard stuff. So one thing that I learned to do, this is my big thing this year, is, probably can't see it, is just get a journal. Get a journal out. Men and women, y'all can do this, okay? And so what I would do is every day that I had contact with any client, I'd say September 5th, 2023, I talked to Wendy and she was feeling better because she's always sick. And she sent me the information right away. And I'm so grateful that she's able to run her business today and still connect with me. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay. But that writing it down has made a huge difference, because then it goes to the forefront of my mind, not only how much I appreciate my clients, but also too, knowing that when there is head knocking, or if it's your boss head knocking, embrace the challenge. The Buddhists say, if you're having a challenge, congratulations. I love how my ex-boyfriend loves to say that to me when I'm calling to moan and groan. But I love the fact that he says it, because it's reminding me that I have a challenge. I have a challenge with my business and my profession. And what am I going to do to fix it? And sometimes I've had the most brilliant ideas from not concentrating on the woe is me, I got beat up, I got cussed out, blah, 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 blah. But what have I learned? What do we know about the word fear? Write this down. False evidence appearing real, right? That's all fear is. False evidence appearing real. And this is why you need to really look to embrace that fear that we've talked about a lot in these last 2 days. But now I'm gonna charge you to take it one step further. Okay, I'm gonna give you one more example of some things that I've done with my business to make me a better person. Okay, I'm a little hardwired, so I don't moan and groan and cry too often, but every now and then. This particular lady who I had as a client, I meet with my bookkeeping clients every month. So come tax time, the books are pretty clear. I don't have to do a whole lot of backtracking. First year client, we get to tax season. All of a sudden, I didn't make that money. Okay, people, I love people. I'm like, gee, it came through your banking account, but okay. Anyway, so we go through all this. And then I said, you know what, let me send you a list of detailed transactions. And you tell me what's wrong. Because we've been going through this song and dance every single month. I meet with you every month. And now you're going to tell me I'm wrong. So I eventually let this client transition. But when dealing with her, and she was very high anxiety and all like that, which is a little bit difficult for me and my personality to deal with. So I got to quiet my personality first. What I realized was I got a great idea. So now, every time I engage a new client and I'm taking over their books, I send them a list of detailed transactions on everything that's taken place before I even touch their books. So they can start telling me what they need, what is wrong before we get to the finish line. So sometimes these challenges that you have in your profession, hurry up and get over the woe is me, it's my fault, I got kicked in the teeth, and get to the epiphany of how you can make yourself or your business better. If we understand that humility is to understand the source of all our good and really truly where it comes from, then we need to understand it's from a greater source. Okay? Man teaching man humility is kind of tough. You have to have had some kind of connection spiritually to say that you even recognize, that you understand, that you're sensitive to the humility in yourself as well as others. Hope and understanding that your business is operating to its fullest potential is based on current conditions. Let me say this again. Hope and understanding that your business or your profession is operating at its fullest potential is based on current conditions. What do we know? Everything changes every 5 minutes. Everything changes. This is perhaps the most important part of how we need to raise our consciousness to see beyond those things that limit ourselves and limit our thinking about others and in our lives. One of the biggest little things I taught myself, because I don't like confrontation, a lot of people don't, was when someone was upset with me. One, I needed to shut up and be quiet. What do they say? We got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Shut up and listen. I don't care if they're ranting, raving, yelling, whispering, gritting their teeth. It doesn't matter. Those challenges is part of conflict of life. Whether it's your business, your profession, your family, you're going to get that, right? So number 1, I have really learned to listen. Number 2, when I am at loss for words, the best thing I've learned is this one word. There's one question, and I encourage you to use it next time you're faced with adversity. Look at that person, whether it's on Zoom, on the phone, whatever, and simply say, why? That's it, in a calm, even tone voice. Why? Because when you ask the other person why, you start getting behind the real reason of what is upsetting them. Where's the challenge come from? Challenges of practicing gratitude and optimism occur when we are faced with other professionals that are falling short of our desires. Write this one down. We are faced with other people who are falling short of our desires. It's not theirs. It's our desires. Okay, that's when the challenges in life, in your profession, in your job, in your business really start taking hold. When you realize that things aren't quite like you want them to be. Okay, but that's on you. That's in you, in your mind, and your heart's desire. So what do you have to do? You have to meet that challenge. Again, we have to meet it with optimism as well as gratitude. For instance, this year was supposed to be my final year to transition so I could get closer to retiring. So I hired my mini me thinking, yay, she's right. We're 6 months into this. And I realized she's too committed to her other job to try to run my business. She doesn't have enough passion to run my business. She can't show up for the networking group, which I always think is fun, networking groups, because she's too busy doing other things. So she's not committed enough. She's got the skills, she got the personality, she's got all that other stuff, but she doesn't have what I really need. Now, I had my choice. I could be mad at her. I could fuss at her. None of that works. I did have a couple conversations with her to see what she thought. What's her side of this? And ultimately, I realized how much I appreciated what she had done up to this point, what the 6 months have meant. And I realized the things I learned from her during this process. And more importantly, I learned about what I needed more for myself. So then I could stop trying to say, it's your fault. No, because you fell short of my desires, that's my fault. And I think that's a lot of times what we get into when we're meeting challenges and having a really tough time looking at being grateful, looking at keeping our optimism up, being happy that you're involved with something, is because we have fallen short of our own desires, not the other person's. So part of what you have to do then is like change that desire, change what that book looks like for you. Okay, next point. When we are met with hostility and criticism, what we need to do is get our attitude correction in place. Often this starts with heightening our self-awareness that we are part of the negativity and that we have to admit where our faults lie. When we gain an understanding that we can meet all situations with love and forgiveness, we can start correcting negative thoughts we entertain for ourselves and project onto others. Okay, so what does all this mean? Part of our limiting beliefs, part of our I want it my way thing, okay, comes about from, yes, that childhood thing, not getting what we want. But guess what, people, like they said before, it's time to grow up, okay? You can be childlike without being childish. What is that all about? Part of what that's about is accepting responsibility. Hugo was talking about accountability, having an accountability group. Awesome. My senior accountant at 5:30 a.m. every morning talks to 5 other guys around the country for a prayer for 1 hour. That's really hard to do every single day. Part of gratitude and optimism for your profession and to meet your challenges means you have to look at your course correction is not out there. Your course correction is in here. It's always been in here. But see, our problem is we don't want to think it has anything to do with us. No, it has to do with the other person, that other situation. It has to do with the money didn't get in my bank soon enough. It has to do with the client bounced a check. It has to do with this. It has to do with that. No. And that is where you learn to meet your challenges with greater optimism, greater clarity, and greater appreciation. So how do you do it when you have that negativity going on? It's simply self-talk. Your first self-talk to say that you understand that part of the fault lies with you. Look yourself in the mirror today before you go to bed. First thing in the morning, the fault in my life falls with me. Say it 3 times. Know what your limiting beliefs are. And a lot of times, most of the time, okay, all the time, everything wrong with your life is because of you. It's ugly. Hate to admit it, but it's true. We create our world. But when I start my morning, every morning at Michael Hansen, and I chant about the things I'm grateful for, this is also how I end my day. I lay in bed, cut off the TV, or at least put it on mute, okay? And my goal every single day is to count 10. 10 things. Okay, 10 is the sign of multiplicity. It's the beginning with 1 and it's the end with 0. I count 10 things I'm grateful for. And I always start with these 2 things. Number 1, I woke up today. Number 2, I'm here to fulfill my mission and my passion another day. Bare minimum. There are times it's 10, 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I'm only on number 7 for what was my gifts of gratitude for today. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? My gifts for gratitude today was simply, I felt good all day. Like this morning, I already went and had a half-hour swim. I squeezed it in before this session, okay? My gift of gratitude to myself could be simply that I had the eyes to see a beautiful flower, or I had the ears to hear a bird chirping, or I could appreciate the fact that I live in a beautiful house in a nice neighborhood. It doesn't matter what it is. Gratitude doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something very small, but it is a point of appreciation for you and your world. Okay, last point. Though everyone's profession and practice of that profession may be unique, it needs to be properly aligned with the heart of each individual. Consequently, it is up to the individual to make sure the heart and the mind are in the right spot when dealing with business challenges, difficult clients, and staff frustrations, and more. I'll say that last line one more time, so hopefully maybe you can write it down. Consequently, it is up to the individual, you, okay, to make sure that the heart and mind are in the right spot when dealing with business challenges, difficult clients, staff fluctuations or frustrations, and anything else. Because when your mind and heart are properly aligned, you will have ultimate peace. 100%, I will guarantee it. I'm going to say this again. When your heart and mind are properly aligned, no matter what action you decide to choose, no matter what words you decide to speak, they will be the right words. They will be the right actions because your mind and heart are perfectly aligned. So every day you can start the world with optimism and gratitude. Not just be happy, be inwardly happy that you have so much to offer the world, including what you offer yourself. Thank you so much. This is Carla Vaughn with Speaking to Elevate. And if we still have time for a question or two, I'd love to answer.
Wow. Carla, Well done. Thank you so much for that wonderful, insightful content on how to implement gratitude and optimism in your profession. So much value in that. And it's the simple things. That's really what your, what your presentation underscored to me. It's the simple things. And starting off, you moved up from 3 things. I thought it was 3 things you need to be grateful for at the beginning of the beginning of the day and the end of the day. You moved it up to 10 things. And I love that. I love that because it brings that posture of, having that reset and having that calmness, right? And as you are grateful for more things, you will get there faster. So you can have a productive day. So it's so beautiful. But I have more things to say, but I'll just open up the floor to questions. This is a wonderful, wonderful way to wrap us up.
Anyone that would like to ask a question or have a comment, just please raise your hand and then we will be able to bring you forth.
Thank you, Colin. I see Dr. Susie has her hand up again. So we have one.
Okay. Hit it, Dr. Susie.
Leading the way, Dr. Susie.
That was just a wonderful conclusion to this beautiful event, Carla, and thank you so much for your wisdom.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing this with me today.
Oh, so glad that you came and presented. It was a nice final touch. I did love the whole, leaking, the crack pot. That just put a lot of things in perspective. One of my
favorite stories. Yeah.
Beautiful example of, people may think, or, that you're a nuisance, or you may think that you're a nuisance, but you're really adding significant value along the way and nurturing. So I wanna thank you for that. And
I think we can also open the floor to say if anyone would like to make any last comments or any last questions that they might have before we wrap up as well. I think that would be great.
Yes, golden opportunity.
Yes.
Thanks, Saskia. You're gonna have to get us started. You think you have to nudge some people.
Okay. I don't want to call any names.
I do it all the time when I'm
emceeing. People are pretty bold enough to say that. Maybe I'll try calling Darren, because Darren, do you want to take the stage here and make some comments about this beautiful presentation that we listened to?
While we're waiting to see if Darren raises his hand and comes forward, I just want to thank Saskia for putting together this amazing summit for 2 days and bringing all of the speakers together that we've been able to enjoy and have here with us. You've just brought EQ to light. And I think it's so important that we focus on emotional intelligence, not only with our families, our friends, with our colleagues, but, the kindness, the gratitude that Hugo talked about. There's so much opportunity for us to learn in the area of emotional intelligence. So we've had great speakers over the last full 2 days that I've been here. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And I know that this was a lot of undertaking for you in the background to put together. So thank you for everyone that attended and all the speakers that said yes.
Thank you so much. And I want to extend that thank you and gratitude to the phenomenal speakers of day 1 and day 2. You guys are outstanding professionals to the bottom of my heart. I haven't seen anything like this all in one place in a long time. So believe me when I tell you that you've impacted so many lives today. And that's really what my passion is. Healing and empowerment. And I'm so grateful that you answered the call and you said, yes, I'm willing to share wisdom about my journey, about the insights that I've gathered along the way. It's been inspirational to us all. So thank you. And I know this is BreakThru's first annual Resilience Summit. We have so much in store, I'm sure, next year. But thank you for kicking us off in such a brilliant fashion. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and have my concluding remarks here. And I'm so moved. I'm so moved by everything today and yesterday. Okay, let me get to cards. All right. So this is Justin Saskia Christian again, your host, organizer, and founder of BreakThru. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you to these outstanding speakers, EQ subject matter experts who took time out of their busy schedule to be able to present such life-changing materials, strategies, and how we can elevate our experience in our personal life as well as in our professional life, life-conquering strategies. I am eternally grateful for this. And audience, attendees, we're so glad that you were able to join us today. It was just an honor having you here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your engagement. It was just such a great, rich exchange. And I know that you'd have taken away great nuggets on applying emotional intelligence for breakthrough in every dimension of your life. What a wonderful gift. So we encourage you to practice, really, really practice those tips, strategies, emotional self-regulation, all that wisdom. See how you can insert it in your daily fabric of life. And we know it will make a difference for you. So we at BreakThru, we really do care about you. We care about the individual professional experience, regardless of whether you're a corporate executive, a business professional leader, or a business owner. You matter. You're not a number to us. You matter. So with that, we've designed our portfolio, our e-course portfolio that is centered on mental wellness, resiliency, and emotion intelligence leadership. We've designed all of that with your needs. Yes, your needs in mind. We know it's a stressful work and personal life that we live each day, and you need to be equipped with those tools. So we tailored and we customized that for your journey, and that seasonal living and navigation. So with that, I would encourage you to really email questions about your resilience, emotional intelligence, and any of the lectures. You can reach out to me at saskiac@breakthru.com, and I'll be more than happy to respond. So on behalf of everyone, I want to say thank you. And I want to call out before I go on to the next page, Colleen. Thank you so much, Colleen, for managing things on the background and showing up in such a magnificent manner. We're so grateful. We're so grateful for you. And lastly, I want to leave you with this. Because we care about the individual experience, we're offering today an opportunity of a life transformation at your fingertips. BreakThru is offering that as a summit special bonus. So we encourage you to actually book a small group conference. We have a small group workshop centered around resiliency framework. It's a premium workshop at 50% off, pricing of $247, $247, and you will be equipped with life-changing, those same life-changing strategies I just referred to, really, on how to tap into your resilience power and move from struggle to freedom. And we all need freedom. We all desire freedom in our lives and become, most importantly, unstoppable. And as you can see, we have amazing and unstoppable leaders here who presented today. We want to equip you with those tools. So do reach out to us. And Colleen, if you can put the link in the chat again, BreakThru.com/tap into your resilience power workshop. It's all there for you. So with that, thanks again from the bottom of my heart. And we look forward to seeing you next year at BreakThru's second annual Resilience Summit. It's going to be powerful, just as this one. And we will have that healing and empowerment, each and every one of us, and become the best version of ourselves. And it's a pleasure being your host for the last 2 days. Have a good day, have a good evening, and best wishes in your personal and your professional journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bye, everyone.
Fabulous job.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
everybody,
right.
for attending.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye now.